Filmmaker Tom Konkle joins us once again here on Midnight's Edge in the Morning. Dave Filoni is moving up in the ranks. What's going on here? We'll talk about that and a whole lot more this morning on Midnight's Edge in the Morning. I'm Tom Connors. Good morning. We've had another week here in the YouTubes. It's Friday. Welcome, Andre. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. And yeah, can you believe another week has passed already? The days sure pass by fast when they're all the same.
Well, I missed a lot of Wednesday, and there was a ton of stuff going on I wanted to talk about, but I'm sure a lot of that will come up today because we have with us somebody from the industry itself who knows the ins and outs, Mr. Tom Konkle, one of our favorite guests. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. I really appreciate being on here, Andre, Tom. You have a great channel. I've been listening to some of your updates. Very interesting developments with Star Wars and certainly with Warner Brothers and MGM. So I'm looking forward to really talking about how we're watching, what we're watching, and what's going to happen to what we want to watch in the future.
Indeed, and it's so cool when we have such esteemed guests like Kamran Pasha, yourself, Mr. Kunkel, and others to help us out with that. Because
thank you.
Because we can analyze from the outside using general business acumen, but the insight from you guys on the inside, that's what really makes thing pop. And yeah, I think it's very, very exciting days for the industry. We're in the middle of a paradigm shift, and it's going to be very interesting to see where the chips fall down. And we're going to get into that. Today, we're going to talk a little Star Wars because we have the Dave Filoni news, or non-news, depending on how you look at it. Because at first glance, it looks like it's a huge thing. And then at second glance, maybe not so much. But then on third glance, maybe there's more to it. So we're going to get into those three glances.
There's a lot of glancing. Yeah.
Exactly. And then we have also learned that Rangers of the New Republic, the show that was officially announced and rumored to have a very big Gina Carano presence, well, that's no longer happening. So there's that. And then we also have esteemed filmmaker Tom Konkle here, and you just finished the filming another movie, didn't you?
Actually, it is not finished. I am in full flow.
Yeah, but you're in the middle of production then.
Yeah. I put some clips up of a scene that I did with one of the stars. His name is Chris Connell. I have an incredible action stunt team led by a stunt coordinator named Gary Choi. Terrific sort of Hong Kong style stunt team. I actually wanted to thank both of you. You hooked me up with Script Doctor, and Script Doctor and I have been talking for 6 or 7 months, but finally an opportunity presented itself to do a straight ahead old school action film. And of course, Script and I are huge fans of it. And so we started talking about taking everything from Arthurian legends to mob films to Hong Kong action films and putting them into a new basket and kind of mixing them up. And I met him through Midnight Edge. So as a direct result of being on here, we're going to be making a new movie together.
That's awesome. Midnight's Edge, making a real world impact.
Yes, Midnight's Edge was the connective tissue there. I found someone like-minded, and he's really talented. And so when I approached him, I said, "Hey, we should make this movie together." And he had some terrific ideas. I was talking to Chris, one of the stars of it. He's like, "Hey, you guys are perfect, writing this together." So we started the process a little while ago, and I am shooting some scenes from it now as part of the you have to do that sometimes to do the pitch, and then we're putting it together, and we're going to be shooting it either later in the year in the fall, and hopefully next year we'll have something fun and new to watch, and we certainly want to help premiere it here on your channel on Midnight's Edge.
Do I get a Pee Wee Herman cameo?
If necessary, yes. We
Waiting,
will discuss
Mr.
that. Yeah.
Herman. Mr. Herman, you have a call at the desk.
I would love that. I would love that. But yeah, there's not a lot of movies being made that embrace a more old school aesthetic. And this is certainly a throwback to a much more classic style of story. As we always say, we like a very simple story with complex characters. And something that I've always wanted to do that, the stunt team really got me excited about is I love mixing the kind of Western style and the Hong Kong style of both, executing fight scenes and action, but also how you shoot that is different. And so I'm learning a whole new skill set. I'm shooting, the whole thing's anamorphic. It's 6K, widescreen, good stuff. But when you're shooting a Hong Kong style, you film differently. You actually cover the action differently. So it's been really exciting to kind of blend these two things into something that's kind of epic and mythic.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
Very
At the moment,
cool.
we're calling it the
Looking forward to
Red
it.
Circle. Yeah, it's
Red Circle. That's a catchy title.
Yeah, it's really the idea of almost a dark Camelot, the Camelot myth turned upside down, where everyone has a seat at this table and it's a red circle. So it's going to be a really interesting film.
Very cool.
Yeah.
We'll talk more about that and everything else a little bit later. I look forward to hearing more about that.
Thank
But
you.
first, we have some Star Wars news to go through. And before even that, we have to say greetings to our audience. I saw many familiar faces here. I saw Mags in the chat. Jason Gallagher is here. Doug35 is here. Dash G's is here. Valiant Renegade is here. And he sent us a $50 super chat. Holy cow. Thank you so much. That's going to give us so much coffee for all the midnight oil that we're burning here. So thanks so much for that. And he says, there was no accident in the lack of Filoni fanfare. Lucasfilm website was updated immediately after hiring Sengupta. Filoni was named ECD months before that and kept quiet deliberately. We get it now because of the other recent Disney news it ties to. Very astute observations there, Valiant Renegade. So do hold that thought because we are going to get into it. Also, if you all like this and want to help us out, then please also hit that like and help share the stream. I do think that YouTube isn't helping all that much today. It kind of looks like. So yeah, do help share. And then moving on from there, we also have Mexican Iron Man in the chat. Greetings.
Hello all.
And HyperGyver2 says for $5. Thank you so much. I spoke with my XO in the 501st and Rebel Legions. I can confirm 100% that Filoni has had this title for over a year now. This is a giant nothing burger.
Yeah.
Again, this goes back to what I was saying in the beginning. There's a first glance, there's a second glance, and then there's a third glance. We're going to get into all of those.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then we also have, Mexican Iron Man. Speaking of which, he says for $19.99. Thank you so much. Mr. Kunkel, bought your movie online and tonight watching with 5 friend neighbors for a Friday movie night on a backyard projection screen and barbecue having. We can't wait. Thank you.
Oh, that is fantastic! Thank you, Mexican Iron Man. I saw the Twitter exchange. He had sent me something where he was looking for a copy, and I'm so glad you found it. I hope you guys have a blast. It's a lot of fun, and I want to hear what you think once you finish watching it. But you know what? You're making me smile. I really appreciate that you guys gave it a shot, and you're gonna have some fun watching it while you barbecue. That is fantastic. That is why I made it. Thank you.
Yeah. Would this be Trouble Is My Business? Is that the one he's referring to?
I assume so. Yes, I believe it is. It is Trouble. So yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. You made my day. Thank you.
And also, Mr. Konkle is, of course, the writer, director, and star of Trouble Is My Business, a movie that is well worth checking out. And if you check the description to the stream we're in right now, there you have the link to the watch party, where we did for Trouble Is My Business, and that kind of functions as a director's commentary track. So Mike, of course, see the movie first, enjoy it with your friends at the barbecue. But after you've seen it, then make sure to check out that watch party with practically director's commentary from Kunkel. That's also
as close as it gets,
out.
Andre.
Yeah.
I would say you guys really drew me out that day. I was feeling kind of verbal that day, and so I gave some insights that I never really did with the disc or the other stuff. So it was kind of fun. I hadn't seen it in a while, so it was fun watching it with new eyes and just kind of enjoying. It's like, oh, that happened, and we did this or that, or how did we pull this off? So it was a lot of fun doing the commentary with you, because not only do you see kind of where you started and where you ended up, but you kind of learn from things that you did in it. So it's a lot of fun to watch the thing in the watch party with you, because it's almost like sitting next to someone and being able to discuss it while it's playing.
Exactly. And then Joel Rice says this announcement was made to impress investors. Except they didn't really announce it, though. It just kind of like appeared on their webpage and kind of took off from there.
Well, the trades picked up on it, and if you see, the weird thing is they changed the website. So like we were told about it by Stephanie Janicek, who may or may not be in the
massive
chat.
Yeah, well, she had to do some stuff, so she's like listening on and off. But if you catch it later, Stephanie, thank you so much for sending it.
And so then I sent it off to a few people, and interestingly enough, what I got back, we're going to get into here, but so do we have any more super chats besides the Joel?
Yeah, we do have a couple of more, so let's
get to those first.
Caught up, and then we're going to get into the story proper. Kit Kat says for $5, Hail Midnight's Edge, a palpable influence in filmmaking.
Well,
thank you. And I like to believe that on a tiny scale, we're starting to be that a little bit.
You know what? It's the people. It's the people here on the channel. I think we are like-minded people here. And when there's a vacuum, if you're not getting the kind of stuff you want, those of us that love to make movies and love to create stories, and everyone who enjoys stories, and there's also some incredibly creative people in your audience, I think we all just kind of found each other, birds of a feather, and we are making a difference, because we deserve to make the kind of films and the kind of stories that we enjoy, and we can be a scrappy independent. You don't need the studios anymore.
Exactly. And speaking of scrappy independent, Dash D's says, "Hi, Mr. Konkle. As a Canadian, it is ill-advised to do much shooting Hong Kong anything. Didn't go well for us in World War II."
Oh,
wow.
Soon, Dash D's. No, I'm kidding.
Nice job. I got nothing. I got nothing to that. That was good.
I just can't wait to see Red Circle.
Yes, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I've been a fan of those films. I knew I was going to get along with the guy who's doing the stunt coordinating, because we met. He had this giant Bruce Lee T-shirt on, and we just started talking about things, Jet Li and Chow Yun-Fat and all these great films. Wu Ping as a coordinator, And I thought, you know what? I really want to do something in that style, but I also want to do it as, a legend, like a classic Arthurian type legend mixed in with like a mob film. And so this is a great melding of styles. And I think we're able to do it outside the system, which is another, plus, that we don't have, a bunch of notes, and we don't have a bunch of things that we have to do. We can, right or wrong, do the story that we want to see. And it's much more of an old school story. It's a very straight ahead story.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think it's going to be better than Shang-Chi.
Probably. I'm interested already. Of course, I like kung fu movies and
I do too,
and mob movies. So you're definitely like barking right up my tree there. So
yeah,
can't wait
I'm
for
a big
that.
fan.
And anything absolutely I can do to help you, just let me know. Before we do get into the main news, though, I got update on some Blu-rays for you that you might be interested in, Andre. At least one for sure.
Okay.
We're looking at Q3 for a 4K release of Dune from Arrow. So
about time.
Special edition.
But which cut though? Is it the theatrical?
I don't know yet, but it's coming from Arrow, so it could be multiple cuts. And those who are fans of John Carpenter, The Thing will finally debut on 4K this October as well. And word's coming out that Amadeus and The Lost Boys are also on deck for a 4K release as well. So speaking of multiple cuts, maybe Amadeus will finally get its theatrical cut on disc.
That would be fun to see.
It hasn't been, seen in its original cut in a long time. Not that I have anything against the director's cut, but yeah.
I think there's some extra padding in the director's cut.
I think so.
The leaner version, which is actually kind of a cleaned up version of the play, I think works better because some of the digressions, which were to create, for Mozart's the character of his wife and some of that stuff, I think takes some of the steam out of it. So I think, I think the theatrical cut worked. And it's one of those rare cases where, the theatrical cut is probably a producer's cut mixed with a director's cut. And in that case, it worked. And being a director, I can't believe I'm saying that, but sometimes it's true. Sometimes you need people around you who go, no.
Well, and with all those unrated cuts and stuff we got on DVDs for years, as an editor, I look at a lot of those and I'm like, yeah, no. The original version was that version for a reason, and these were just nonsense.
Generally, I do prefer my extended and director's cuts.
I like them for fun,
but there are a handful examples in which the original theatrical version, however producer inspired or the mandated it may have been, actually was better. Donnie Darko, I'm looking at you.
Yeah, I think you're right, Andre. I think part of it too is as someone who's creating it and making it, you're a different person when you're first making it than you are when you're looking back on the work. And sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing because you can second guess yourself and go, no, I wasn't right. But who you were at that moment when you told that story is so important sometimes that if you go back and fiddle with it, it's almost like a painting. If you have a painting, it's dried, stop messing with it because sometimes it's exactly how it's supposed to be. But yes, I love seeing a director's cut sometimes because the original intent of the filmmaker, the director, is often there and undiluted. And sometimes you're like, oh, this makes so much more sense because it's like playing telephone. If it went around 15 other people who didn't quite know what they meant, you get, what is it? A camel is a horse by committee. Yeah. And sometimes, you get something that's diluted from the original vision. So it's very interesting. Sometimes it's a time capsule and leave it alone. Other times you evolve and you're able to do director's cut and you go back to the original vision and it's better. So I mean, but that's the cool thing about movies is they're a snapshot of a piece of time, of a piece of history of both the story and the person, the people that made it.
Absolutely. The Last Millennial says, Tom, my last name is Kunkel. Is your last name, which sounds the same, German, like by chance?
I spell it way differently, but I'll bet we're somehow distantly related. I think
it does sound German to me. But
my I did my 23andMe type thing, and I was really surprised. I'm like 99.9% Northern European, but a lot of Viking, which I'm happy to say, Andre, and a lot of Scottish, a lot of Celtic, but a percentage.
The Vikings got around.
That's right, you did. And a small percentage is German, so I think the name was a corruption. My ancestors didn't come here until fairly late, and I think when they came in the island, how everything's handwritten, I think it got corrupted at some point as a name. So we're probably distantly related. I know there's a great drummer named Russ Kunkel who spells his name like you spell your name. So, it's possible.
Yeah, it's like Connors. There's the ERS, the ORS, the OR without the S.
Mm-hmm. You have that with so many names, different versions of spelling, but still basically the same name. And that corruption, that can have happened way back in their motherlands before anyone stepped on American shores.
Yeah. Well, we got We got over 1,000 people watching. Please hit that like button and
Hello.
share out the stream. We appreciate that. Anthony has a question here. Is there an extended cut for Arnold's Raw deal? I'm sure there is, but I will tell you this. This is a bit of news that I've been hearing. I haven't heard anything about Raw deal, but I did hear that they may be restoring some deleted scenes to Commando for a new release. So stay tuned for that. And of course, we know the Rocky IV director's cut is on the way as well. So
I'll have to ask Vernon about the Commando cut.
Yeah, I've been hearing something about that. Yeah,
I'll ask him. We're due to talk tomorrow, so I'll find out if they've approached him about it. Yeah, Vernon and I are still chugging away on a film we're going to film in Australia as well, which has a really great creative team on it. It's a kind of a classic sci-fi fantasy adventure that's set in Australia with a mostly Australian cast, and Vernon's calling in a lot of markers on a lot of really talented, fairly big name actors that he's worked with through the years. So I'm excited to be working. If we can get half the cast we've been talking to in this movie, it will be pretty amazing.
Absolutely.
That sounds very exciting. Looking forward.
Yeah, he's extremely excited. This film is on Vernon's bucket list of things he always wished he could do with people that he always wished he could work with again.
Well, hopefully we can get a chance to talk to him again soon. That was so much fun to get to pick his brain for a little while there.
Yeah, he's a character.
He's so much fun. Tony Albino, though, is talking about some of our, well, at least related to our topic this morning. We're going to get to that right after we finish up these super chats here now. Says, I'm just hoping beyond hope that Star Wars is ending and woke Star Wars is ending, I should say, and Star Wars is returning. Yeah, we're going to definitely get into that. That's the main topic of the day.
It is. So we'll get into that.
But Last Millennial adds in, funny because I'm black and adopted, actually. So my dad is actual German one.
I love it.
You'll have that. You will have that. And Troy Pacelli, one of our good buddies here, says, just ringing the bell because I love Tom Konkle, as we do too. You guys are okay too. Well, thank you.
I love you.
I really appreciate that.
That kind of reminds me
Troy.
Oh, go ahead.
Troy was the one that suggested the watch party, I believe. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Now that you bring that up.
Thank you, Troy.
Yeah, you're pretty okay too.
You guys are pretty okay. I'm okay.
That's like Mr. Miyagi. I love you, Mr. Miyagi. You're my best friend I ever had. You're pretty okay too.
Yeah, pretty okay.
That is nice. And we're going to go through a couple more super chats before we get into the first main topic of Star Wars and Dave Filoni. But before then, first super chat of the day was from Cultured Casino, who said for $5, thank you so much, hail and good morning. Happy Friday. Happy Friday night tights. Happy Friday frolics. Let's talk some Filoni baloney. Indeed, we'll get right into that. And then Film Lars says for 100 Danish krona, tusen takk. Hail Midnight's Edge. Life is short. Go wild. With some koalas and party emojis. So, yeah, thanks for that. That's awesome. We'll be sure to put it to good use. Grand Wazoo42 says for 10 euros. Thank you so much. I heard from someone that you should not give your money to people who hate you, so you get my then instead. My grandpa always told me to listen to wise persons, and I do. Yes, your grandpa was a very wise man by the sounds of it, and we thank you and we salute him. Is back in the chat and now has a wrench even. So more wrenches. So glad to see you back again. And she says, hi gents, hello everyone. Well, indeed. And with
Mr. Tickletrunk, hello there.
Yes, Mr. Tickletrunk says, hail to the great Kunkel. Indeed. We're so glad to have Mr. Kunkel with us. And Stephanie Janisek is now back in the chat again. Perfect, excellent. And we are just about to begin the main topic. And again, kudos to Stephanie for being at least the first one that I know of to tip us to tip us of this new development of Dave Filoni. Now, Tom, you are, of course, completely on top of the story. So tell us, what is this all about? And of course, as I said to begin with, that you have like the first glance, which is like, whoa, On the second glance, it was like, oh, nothing burger. On the third glance, it was like, maybe. Let's begin with first glance. What are these news, and when did they first appear?
Do you mean me, Tom? Right?
Yeah, you Tom.
Yes, I thought
so. I'm just making sure. Okay, yeah. So
I'm fine. Yeah, I meant Tom, as in Midnight's Edge Tom, and not Mr. Konkle.
Yeah. As we were saying before, Stephanie had brought this to our attention that the Star Wars website had announced, or at least changed, I should say, not so much announced without any real fanfare, that Dave Filoni was now an executive creative director at Lucasfilm. And with a little bit of digging on her part, and actually I got to give a shout out also to Ryan Cannell, because I think he's the first one I saw point this out, that this was something that actually happened a year ago. So this isn't even new news, but all of a sudden today it's being picked up, or yesterday it was being picked up because they finally changed it on the website. But I think once you start getting past the surface level of this, there's so much more to get into. Now, we know there's been a lot of moving and shaking going on behind the scenes at Disney and Warner Brothers and other places in the industry right now. Like everything, the whole landscape is about to change. And this, I think, is just caught up in the wave of it. And if not, just kind of hiding behind the wave of it, because as we've been reporting here for a while, there's a lot going on. And of course, the other bit that was brought to my attention, I think more so by Script Doctor of all people, was who's going to be filling his position, because that position is still open. So here we are.
So we are all clear. Exactly which position is it that now needs to be filled?
Okay, well that would be I think it was a junior executive role, but let me get the exact title here. Let me see here. It is a junior creative executive is now open at Disney. And the weird thing is they just posted this one. So this is also kind of weird that he was announced a year ago, but this was just posted the other day. But this is his old role at Disney. So again, we're at a weird position where I think Script was kind of getting to was the bigger question is who's going to be filling his old role, and what are they kind of getting us ready for? That's the bigger question. Now, I'm not trying to insinuate there's going to be some huge changes behind the scenes, because those changes probably have already happened. Because this is a lower level role that's being filled here. I think the bigger question is who's out as well. So now that we have a lot of the overview of what's going on here, let's kind of break down the big questions and get into it. What do you say, Andre?
Yes, let's do that. And before we start giving our takes based on just observing from the outside, let's hear the take of someone who's also observing from the outside, but at least from within LA. So, Mr. Kunkel, Dave Filoni was promoted to executive creative director at Lucasfilm, and reportedly this happened a year ago, although we only learned of it right now, which to me is like very interesting timing, because we have so much else that is happening right now. Do you think it's a coincidence that this happened now? Did someone just forget to update the webpage? Or is it like Valiant Renegade hinted at in his $50 super chat? Thank you so much again for that. Something more strategic about the timing. I'm going to repeat his super chat. He said, there was no accident in the lack of Filoni fanfare. Lucasfilm website was updated immediately after hiring Sengupta. Filoni was named ECD months before that and kept quiet deliberately. We get it now because of the other recent Disney news it ties to. So again, well, let's actually begin with executive creative director. What does that mean? That's the first question. And why now?
Well, I think the interesting point is, you brought up Mamina Sengupta, who we talked about about 6 months ago, I think, when she got brought on. He's an episodic director and writer. It looks like it's more so going to be like him just overseeing more things, having a little bit more control. I believe this puts him in like third or fourth command now over things.
If I may,
yeah, go for it.
I think your friend Cameron, who also did a really good job breaking things down. This is how the town works. It's no coincidence. We've seen all these, hey, things are shuffling, we're moving things around type movement around both Disney and the subsidiaries that Disney controls. Lucasfilm has been seen as kind of not having the best mojo as far as the kinds of things that are coming out, other than Mandalorian, which I think was a creative, commercial, success. I think it is no sort of accident. I think not only are we gauging the amount of interest in what's going on, because let's face it, because it came out is because people are looking at the website and the sort of excitement and joy that Dave Filoni might be moving up, even if it's delayed by a year. It certainly shows that people like us and people here at Midnight's Edge in the audience, this is what we would like to have happen. And something that Disney does really well is put feelers out and see gauging. They actually have an entire division at Disney that just gauges reaction from fans, reaction from things. So this is going to put a blip that goes all the way to the very top, to Chapek and all the people that are at the top, that go, hey, what do they think about this creative team? If there's a negative kind of trend to it where it's like, this guy got moved up or she got moved up, but Filoni moving up, that moves the needle in the right direction. It moves the right direction for us, but also it lets people know, because in corporate, they may not have their ear to the ground. They might be like, I don't know. What do people like? We don't know. We collect the money, we do whatever. But on a creative side, seeing Twitter and people like us go, hey, you guys are moving in the right direction. Positive reinforcement. I think our reaction to it being positive helps us, because Dave Filoni, he's been a fixture there. I actually was honored to be up at Lucasfilm. I got to sit in on a mix. I got to touch the original cans of negative for Empire Strikes Back, which were kind of piled up in a hallway for a session. It's a great place to work. I think he's been there since 2005, I think. Clone Wars launched, I think, like 2008, if I'm not wrong. And he is the person who was mentored directly by Lucas. He's not a pencil pusher guy. He's not an administrative guy. So I know how he feels. Like I would have a double-edged sword where it's like, I want to create, I want to make the shows, I want to come up with stuff, I want to be working on that. I don't necessarily want to do the admin on it, but if necessary to be a creative director, to have some freedom, that's the perfect place for him to be, next to Jon Favreau, who is executive producing, to have Filoni take the reins. He respects he's creating the extended universe. So this is just another feeler coupled with the Variety article that is Disney going, are we doing the right thing?
Yeah, that could be part of it. One thing I want to point out here, the reason I have the banner up here is this was in a publication called Fantha Tracks. So it's like a smaller, Star Wars mainly news site. But what happened was, in the course of the day, was it was picked up by Variety.
Yep.
And that made it bigger news. And that's when everybody started paying attention.
And you notice it says fans on Twitter got excited, which was my entire point. The fact that fans are excited and not outraged gives Disney an idea of is that the direction we need to go?
Yeah, and I think this is the one that means a lot more than the other ones, because I think this is almost kind of sending a message of sorts through Variety. And we've kind of seen this in the last few weeks, haven't we, Andre? In fact,
we have very much so, how basically the two sides are trying to put competing narratives out there in the trades, and the Kennedy faction even resorted to putting fake leaks onto Reddit, as we covered a while back, actually also with Kamran Pasha, and of course they got busted for it instantly because everyone recognized that this was a planted corporate leak. But this thing right here, as you point out, this Variety article, to me, this has all the hallmarks of being planted and put out there by the Favreau faction. Because if you read that article, it seems designed to try to convince someone that has a certain view of fans, a negative view, but still know that they need to earn money here. And just look at the way it's written. It says right there in the headline, the Mandalorian EP Dave Filoni's new job at Lucasfilm isn't actually new, but fans on Twitter got excited anyway. I agree with Mr. Kunkel. I mean, this is like a campaigning article. This is something that comes from, I think, you didn't say this, but I think this is something that comes from within Lucasfilm. I think this could be some more of that 4D chess that we have heard Favreau being in the process of playing. That basically he's like dropping little nuggets here and there that are designed to show the powers that be, the decision makers, that his is the direction to go. And the High Republic and Geo, the Rock, and all of that isn't the way to go. We didn't report on this, so I haven't heard this myself, but our good friend Doomcock reported that this book, what's it called? I don't know, like this book that was rejected and commissioned in the 90s.
Heart of the Jedi?
Yeah, exactly. That he evidently had some hand. Again, I don't know this. I have not heard this from our sources, so I just go by his reporting here. But his sources told him that Favreau had a hand in that being released, which only went to show that it outsold any High Republic book by a substantial factor.
Well,
and this was completely without any kind of marketing whatsoever.
And they made it a collector's item now because they pulled it. So now people are selling it from anywhere from $300 to $500 on eBay.
Exactly.
But I got to point.
It would almost be easier to get a hold of a PlayStation 5 than that one.
It is probably. But I do got to say this, Surly Unicorn. I'm a little bit more with you. Although I do trust Tom Konkle as far as his, opinion on the industry, and he knows these people better than I do, obviously. But there's been some times where I'm curious about Filoni and what overall his goals are, because one thing I do know is with Kathleen Kennedy's decision to go forward and not go backwards or concentrate on anything in the past, really destroyed a lot of what Filoni and other people had worked on. And I feel like a lot of what we've seen in The Mandalorian has been him trying to reestablish characters like Ahsoka and other ones that have kind of been just tossed to the side by the KK camp. So I'm not so sure if his heart's so much in giving the fans what they want as it is just getting what he wants. But again, this is not a bad move for the fans. I can't disagree.
But again, this is what I always say. Oh, hey, Echo Base Network, who are here, and they are giving the books away. Awesome. Yeah. Also, Kent Flint. They had Ken Flint on, so go check out Echo Base Network for some excellent Star Wars coverage, especially. Yeah. Of the whole Ken Flint ordeal. Absolutely go check those out.
That great interview with him.
So I was about to say about Dave Filoni, I think that he is very much so a politician. I don't think that his heart and soul belongs to Kathleen Kennedy and what she wanted to do, but he's politician enough that he could pretend to be fully aligned with her in order not to be kicked out of Lucasfilm altogether. So I think that he is a politician. I also don't think that he cares too much about the fans. And you know what? He doesn't have to. If he only cares about himself and his own putting his own stamp, as long as that stamp is one that fits with what George Lucas first established, then it's all good. I mean, this goes right back to Gordon Gekko. Greed, for lack of a better term, is good. I mean, who cares about the motivations if the end result is good? I'll take him being self-serving when we benefit from his self-service.
Yeah, and I think just going on your point, Andre, is Filoni does, I think he cares about the fans because he is a fan. I mean, he sought out Lucas to become a student of his work because it resonated with him. But he is, he's employed by Kathleen Kennedy. Kathleen Kennedy gave him this promotion He's no dummy. I would do the same thing if I were, and I don't mean this with irony. If I were lucky enough, I've always wanted to direct a Star Wars film or direct a Star Wars episode. Some friends of mine actually have, and I would love to do that. If Kathleen Kennedy came to me and gave me that opportunity, you don't look the proverbial gift horse in the mouth. You may disagree, you may want thing, but you're not going to get any influence by not playing the game. You're not going to get any influence by biting the hand that feeds you. What Dave Filoni needs to do is realize that she's the one who's going to put him in that position. And if he does a good job, he'll stay there, and eventually things change. As you've said, there's things in flux. But a creative director like that oversees not only individual shows now, but he gets to oversee the overall direction of Star Wars. And that's the most important thing, because it takes that off of someone else's plate and puts it directly on his plate. And if I were he, I would say the same thing. I would say, thank you, Kathleen, thank you for giving me an opportunity to do this, and do what you believe to be right, what you believe as a fan Star Wars should be, and you wait it out. You wait and see what happens at the top, because you will still be there when the dust settles.
Exactly. I will give a quote from Ernie Hudson's character, Winston Zedmore, in Ghostbusters, a movie that will be very familiar to old school Midnight's Edge fans. Where he comes to apply for a job, and they ask, do you believe in ghosts? If you pay me, I'll believe in whatever.
If there's a paycheck in it, I'll believe whatever you want.
Exactly. I think that Filoni is just like that. He'll go with the flow of what serves his needs. Will that make him spineless politician? Yes, but it only means that he's going to go to get his way eventually. And since his way overall is in line with what fans want. I mean, like this Star Wars, Clone Wars, whatever the heck it is, I've never seen it. That animated series that everyone is ranting about, the one that gave us Ahsoka and stuff, that's his, isn't it? So he's kind of like the guy that you want in there to try to get things back on track. And also, I do believe that he's also the politician enough that he knows that if Jon Favreau wants to go this way, you go this way. And he finds a way to work with that.
I agree. And now he will have direct influence, be able to weigh in on projects in Star Wars that he is not directly involved in, which is a good thing for all of us, because I think his sentiments are in the right place. I do think he has a lot to say as an artist. Some we might agree with, some we might disagree with, but he is by far less woke, by far less interested in tearing the whole thing down and peeing all over it just to make it his. I think he's more interested in expanding what's already there, but he gets the tone of Star Wars. He gets the mythos of it. He understands the aesthetic of it. And we need someone like that overseeing everything, in my opinion.
Culture Casino brings up a point here. We'll probably get to a little bit more later, but says this news was timed with the official confirmation that we have been talking about here and on other channels. The Rangers of the New Republic is now idle. Yeah, we kind of basically been saying for a while that show is not going to probably happen, or at least not in the form it initially had been planned, unless Gina comes back in some capacity, because that show is supposed to set up her and the spinoff of what's her face, the other character.
Ahsoka Tano.
Well, no, the other one, Ahsoka and Katie Sackhoff's character.
Oh, well, Katie Sackhoff's character. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. I can't think of the name, but yeah,
Katie Sackhoff.
Yeah, but
like Bo-Katan, was that it?
Yeah, Bo-Katan. Thank you. But there's something else in this. I
believe I remember that.
There's something else in this article that is very, very interesting, Andre, that we've been reporting on, and I think you'll find this very interesting. Kennedy also said, because what Favreau's really doing here, it needs to be pointed out, is he's overseeing all the continuity, right? That's going to be his role, because there is other executive creative directors besides him. But in the article, it says Kennedy also said these spinoffs, which all take place within the same timeline, get this, Andre, will ultimately culminate in a storytelling event.
Yes.
What did we report?
I believe that we have reported something along those lines for more than a year now.
Close to it. And
Yeah.
that was where all of a sudden it was like we're saying that Kevin Feige was poking around.
Yeah, exactly, because he helped Jon Favreau map this whole event thing out. Because they're basically following the recipe of the MCU, and we also know who the Thanos is going to be. He's been teased already. And again, to those that like to think that we're all wrong all the time, we reported more than a year ago that it was going to be Thrawn. It's going to be centered around Thrawn, and this was confirmed in The Mandalorian. That's the big daddy that they're building towards.
Yeah,
So
and that's
there you go.
definitely a Filoni thing, and I think it would be a shot in the arm, don't you? I don't think this is a bad thing. I think it might be a lot of fun to see how these various stories, these various universes that they're all joining together can all coalesce around a really good villain that's been developed over years. You know, it's started to get shading. It might be, for somebody that's a fan of Star Wars, I think it might be a lot of fun if it's done right. It could be great because we need some kind of a superstorm of stories that bring everything together, because right now everything seems very disconnected, in my opinion.
You have one other problem. One big problem, and that is Gina Carano. And the problem with that is without her coming back, or at least saying thanks but no thanks to some kind of return request, you're going to lose another big chunk of the fan base. Because I'm among that fan base where I just don't give a shit now. They have pushed me to the point, and you can't. I did initially when The Last Jedi came out, I did a quick editorial, and I compared the whole Star Wars deal to, like, you know, your high school sweetheart that you loved more than anybody else your whole life, and you could never stop thinking about her, and you got back together years later, and that was the prequels, right? But then you parted ways, things were sweet, they just weren't as sweet as they were back in high school, you just figured things were better off. Well, then all of a sudden you think you're getting back together. Not only are you getting back together, things are better than they ever were before, because, you know, The Force Awakens looked like it was going to be this, you know, we're getting the old band back together, all that kind of stuff. And then after TLJ, it was like, no, this is it. I've been fucking completely bamboozled by this bitch. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she has been lying to me the whole fucking time this time. So nope, it's done. I'm over with it. And then the fucking Mandalorian happened. And what that was that last, well, maybe we'll have a little fling. You know what I mean? Like, well, we'll see where this goes. And then the Luke Skywalker moment. And then that's that moment where you're sitting there going, shit, does this mean we're getting back together? And then she drops the bomb on you and gets rid of Gina Carano, and you're like, nope, fuck you, get the fuck out. And make sure you take your shit this time, because I do not want to see you again. You know, like, that's where I'm at right now with Star Wars.
Yeah, well, we'll see what they're able to do with it.
So I think with me and a lot of other people, it boils down to getting Gina back. You can do all this Dave Filoni stuff all day. And I agree with you, Tom. This is a good move for the fans for the most part, but I just don't care. I'm burnt out. Like, I really have, I have zero fucks to give, like a koala in the rain at this point when it comes to Star Wars. Nothing they can do can bring me back short of completely retconning the sequels and saying we're going to do something different. Sorry. You know, that's about it.
Yeah. Well, and I actually think that you may get that wish. I agree with you completely. They have burned so many bridges. And also with the firing of Gina Carano, like the damage that did can't be understated. But I do think that they are aware. And I have not able to confirm the reports that Doomcock has made, that she has been seen on the set of
I have not heard anything other than from him.
I have heard nothing other than his rumors of that. But if that is the case, if she is the Skywalker moment of the Boba Fett series, they're going to win a lot of that goodwill back again. That'll be the first step. And then I think that eventually down the line, they are going to retcon the sequel trilogy in a very big way. With the Kathleen Kennedy out of the picture, and then you have Dave Filoni as the story guy. working closely with Jon Favreau, and they both kind of like have the pulse on the fandom, or rather the audience, because that's fans don't really mean anything. Like us here that are talking about this on YouTube, we're a tiny little minority, but what they do care about is the numbers and the audience, and they have ways of seeing behind the scenes with analytics that they've messed up big time with the audience. And this, I think that Cameron was right, that this whole restructuring of of Disney as a whole, where distribution is placed over content production so they can deliver a mandate. Fix this. We don't care about your story integrity or anything like that. You don't matter anymore. We say, fix this. And then that mandate goes down. That is, in principle, how the new structure at Disney could work. So I wouldn't count Star Wars out yet. Not yet. Not now. But that's me. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I get that, and there's a lot of fans, especially those who are huge fans of like the Clone Wars and stuff, where I can really see benefiting from this.
Yeah, I agree. I feel you, Tom. I'm probably I'm more in the middle for how I feel about it, but it's been 2 steps forward and 3 back. It seems like they snatch defeat from the jaws of victory over and over
They've
again.
done that so many times.
Exactly, yeah.
But I will say that I will say this though: the best revenge at this point for someone like Filoni or Favreau is just doing good work until we kind of get drawn in by what they do. If you look at their live slate, if you have Filoni and Favreau involved in Ahsoka, if you have them involved in the Boba Fett series, or even the Obi-Wan series, if those start being of higher and higher quality, we will get pulled back in if they're decent. Some people will never come back. I do think it was wrong to get rid of Gina Carano. I will go on record anytime saying that I think this whole freak out and fire somebody on Twitter thing has happened before. It's happened to people on the left and on the right, you know, James Gunn. It's happened to a bunch of people, and some have been exonerated, where it's like, you know, who you are when you were 16 years old shouldn't get you fired from, what is it, Vanity Fair or some other thing where they're looking at what
that was she was on the right side of the political scale, and therefore, or on the left side, I should say. So therefore, it was outrage.
Yeah,
but had she leaned the other way, I don't know that there would have been that much forgiveness there.
Exactly. And so I think at this point they're just going to have to do some good work with the new stuff that's coming out. It's interesting to see Disney. You know, it's always concerning to people that make things or are creating it to have the people that are selling it dictating what is made or the product. In other words, what I'm saying is, if you get a paper that comes down from a distribution person who says, this is what is selling right now, here's the brief, make something that fits this. It's a bit like saying, hey, we bought a new projector at this movie theater. Can you make a movie that fits into this projector and does this thing, rather than making a movie and then going, how do we sell this great movie? Now they're saying, well, we have this great way of selling things. Let me tell you how to make the movie. And if that gets a shakeup, then I'm all for it. You know, if it gets certain people out that I feel like are using this as a bully pulpit and really don't care about Star Wars, or maybe don't get Star Wars, or are using it as sort of the woke platform of like, we're going to make you change. We're going to change your fundamental beliefs. We're going to change what you like. You know, how dare you like this old school stuff? If we get rid of some of that because of the restructuring, great. In the long term, though, it is scary to have another layer of the labyrinth added, where the person that's supposed to be in the showroom selling the car is telling you how to build the car.
Yeah, I was going to say, or another great is something we actually dealt with in Hollywood, and that was, we want to make a 3D movie, but they don't know what they want to make, so they just try to make something fit the gimmick.
Yeah, exactly. Throw things at the camera because 3D is in, you know, and it's like, but wait a minute, this is a period drama. Why do they have arrows flying at the screen? You know? Yeah. So yeah, you're right. You're right. But I think we need to temper and be a little stoic about this. We need to show our enthusiasm, crash the site, so that the people that are doing this go, we can make more money if we go in this direction, or if we do things that are more respectful of Star Wars. And there's outrage when we hire somebody that wants to burn it all down, or has an agenda, or is, this woke kind of, we're going to destroy everything and no white male characters. If it's positive and negative reinforcement. So let's look at it as you can wield your power as a fan by saying, I approve in this direction, I disapprove in that direction. And they are not doing this for no reason. They are putting out a bellwether, not only to the industry, but to the general public, going, what do you think? This way? Do we like this person? Do we think this is a good move? I think it surprised them that they crashed the site when they announced, because all they were doing is a standard update of the site, and all of a sudden it's front page. There was a meeting the next day where they went, wow, they really like Filoni. Maybe we should do more of the shows he wants to do.
Yeah,
I think that's... Yeah, carry on, Tom.
Well, I was just going to say, I don't think it was a coincidence that this all was kind of pushed the day before the news about the Rangers. But Mags, not to jump ahead in Super Chats here, we will get to all the Super Chats, but Mags brings up kind of one of the questions I was going to get to as well, and I don't know if this is what you're going to get to as well, Andre, but Dave Filoni's official position now that it is revealed, how will this impact Pablo Hidalgo? And I thought he was the continuity dude. Mags, you are correct, and I believe he sees Pablo was overseeing continuity over everything, but he's one of the guys that has kind of been radio silent here and there, and then he come back, and he got in trouble for making fun of Star Wars theory.
Okay, let's not underestimate. It's not that he made fun of Star Wars theory. No, he single-handedly lost the goodwill garnered by the Skywalker moment.
Well, I was
That's what he
on
did.
Yes, he did. He ruined that moment. He did. Yeah. In fact, why wasn't that the big firing? Like they got rid of Gina. Why wasn't that the next day? Like, you don't mock a guy who loves Star Wars and tells people about it. Why wasn't he let go at that moment? That would have made more sense.
Well, that's been the permeating rumor for a while, is that he really isn't there anymore.
Yeah.
And he's kind of trying to hide that, because that was been my whole thing for a while, is like, we keep saying KK, which, yeah, she is a problem, don't get me wrong. But for some reason, no matter who I talk to, a name that keeps coming up is Pablo fucking Hidalgo. No matter what.
Or if I may, Pablo Grima Wormtongue Hidalgo.
Yeah, he just doesn't have the skills to have that job, because you do not do that. I can't even believe someone that ultimately is very protective like Disney is just like, oh, sure, make fun of this great guy who loves Star Wars and is basically a free ad for it. He's a cancer survivor. I think you should mock him for the one moment that we created that resonated with him. Sure. Now, didn't he delete his Twitter account and say he was retired?
He has done it a couple times now, and that's what I was getting at. Like, and that's the thing, is not just was he the one who mocked Star Wars theory, but it's a permeating rumor that he was the one who's kicked off the whole thing of getting rid of Gina Carano and was attacking. I can't remember I keep forgetting her name. The actress that played Ahsoka.
Gina, is Rosario Dawson.
Rosario Dawson. And also kicked off the whole get rid of Rosario Dawson thing, because the rumor is that he was never happy that she was cast as Ahsoka as well. And again, this is all rumor, so please take with a grain of salt. I'm just saying. So that would make sense on that part. But yeah, as far as Pablo goes, he's somebody they've got to get the fuck out of there. He is a problem. He is the one who is causing this division that we keep talking about. Now, like to Andre, I keep suggesting I wouldn't call it a civil war. I'd call it more of a Cold War, because it's more of a silent thing going on. And Pablo's really seemingly the ringleader of this ideological politics that are being pushed into Star Wars, when guys like Favreau and shit just want to tell Star Wars. They're sick. They didn't like The Last Jedi. They didn't like any of that kind of crap. They feel like the fans do about it. They grew up on this stuff too. A lot of them got into the industry because of Star Wars. So that's the other thing is, I've argued time and time again, the most influential film of all time has got to be the 1977 Star Wars film, because almost every director you talk to nowadays, you ask them, how did you get into directing? And their first story always starts off as, I was 10 years old and I was sitting in a theater and all of a sudden, boom, Star Wars, and overshoots the Star Destroyer. And I'm like, I knew what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I've heard that story so many times from so many different directors now that it was only a matter of time before somebody like Favreau was going to get involved in this.
Oh, and he's a great guy for it because he can talk on any subject. He's a terrific storyteller. I mean, I'm another one of those, you know, I'm a trope. I'm a cliche. I told my parents I was leaving home on the way driving back from Star Wars. I'm like, I'm leaving you. I'm putting you in the home. I'm going to LA. I'm leaving. And I did, you know, because there was something about Star Wars that just, it was almost like all of a sudden our country, our society had created this mythology that had been missing. You know, man versus machine, and our own kind of legends and our own kind of mythology was created in Star Wars. And unfortunately, the further we get from the original creation, the more diluted it gets. I mean, it disturbs me a lot that you know, J.J. Abrams is always like, oh yeah, I emailed Pablo all the time while I was making Force Awakens for, you know, things about the franchise and what, you know, was going on. And it's like, yeah, but clearly Pablo doesn't have people skills. He might have, you know, he might have book smarts about Star Wars, but he has no street smarts about people or how to act or what to do. He's probably this maladjusted guy who knows, you know, can rattle off all kinds of things about Star Wars, but put him in a room with somebody and 5 minutes later he's insulting them without even knowing it. I don't know why he has access to the public, or to me, that's the kind of thing that you would have somebody at Disney go, look, we've spent millions of dollars trying to make something that people like. This guy said he liked it, and now you're making fun of him. We're going to have to let you go. That would have made more sense than the whole Gina thing of like, oh, we don't like your ideas or your messaging has nothing to do with us, but we also just don't like you, and you're not aligned with exactly what we think. We're all for diversity, except if we disagree. Now you go. You know, and I think that tells you everything you need to know, that he wasn't immediately browbeaten, that he was protected, says a lot. But that protection might be going away because the creative director, which is Filoni's job for the last year, and which is why Pablo's probably been quiet, he's the one now that everybody emails and goes, so should we do this?
Also, I would like to say what you said, because Tom, Mr. Konkle, since we have two Toms, Mr. Kunkel, you said that Pablo Hidalgo, he has books smart about Star Wars. You know what? I don't even know that he has that, because J.J. Abrams, he said that, oh, I would call Dave Filoni to hear, can we do this? Can we do that? Does the Force work this way? Does the Force work that way? This guy, he has such book smarts that on his watch, Force healing was invented alongside Force teleportation, let alone the Force sexting. So,
yeah,
so
I was not a fan.
I don't even know that he has that Star Wars book smarts. Again, I think that he's a politician. He might have some, by accident, stumbled on some politician skills. He must have some kind of manipulative skills to get where he is, and have been able to sneak his way into a position where he actually has been able to influence negatively Star Wars and kind of like sabotage it from within. Again, like Grima Wormdung. So the guy, he obviously has some qualities to him for being able to get into that position, but yeah. I don't know that he has that position anymore. I agree with you, Midnight's Edge, Tom, because we've also like heard that maybe he's quietly been let go a little bit behind the scenes, because Mr. Konkle, you pointed out that after the whole making fun of Star Wars theory and costing them all the goodwill the Mandalorian created, there really would have been some kind of repercussions, because we know there were disaster meetings in Disney after that. And when you have a low-level employee at Lucasfilm that's able to do that you have a meeting with Bob Chapek and Bob Iger, and they're talking about him and how badly he messed up,
Yeah.
I ain't
Yeah.
no way that he still has that position. I don't think he does. I think he's gone. I think that the Lucasfilm flying monkeys, the minions of Kathleen Kennedy, as our good friend Kamran Pasha would put it, look for the t-shirt soon. I think that they're all disappearing one by one.
Could be. I don't know if Pablo's out yet, but I do.
If he's not out, I do think he's on his way.
He got a hell of a smacking down with that because he had to basically publicly apologize. It was a non-apology in a lot of ways, but I guarantee you somebody forced him to do that.
Oh yeah, that did not come from his own volition. Absolutely.
Yeah, he's in deep trouble. You're probably right. I mean, frankly, he's a Wikipedia entry, and if you look at it, one of the stories is how he mocked and embarrassed a YouTube reaction. I think he's a liability. I agree with you guys. I think he's probably going to be gone, if not gone already. My point is, they should have come down. If they were really going to be fair-minded about it, they should have come down on him the way they did on Gina.
Yes, but again, he is in with the right people there. He has the right opinions, or at the very least, he pretends to have the right opinion. I think that there are many people in Hollywood that pretends to have the right opinion, although they behind closed doors maybe don't. But again, to be a politician, you have to pretend to be in with the good company, however disingenuous that may be.
That is true. Those are the people that are writing the check, and if you want to, it's not selling out; it's buying in. You have to work with those people, and hopefully, your own beliefs are just buried in with what you enjoy and what you make. But I really hope that there's still a chance for more than just one type of voice making films, and certainly technology and the current situation in Hollywood is allowing, if we do it, is allowing those of us that don't want to do these kinds of woke movies to also have a chance to find an audience and just keep making movies and entertain each other. And I do this to get messages like Mexican Iron Man, where he's like, hey, I'm going to watch it at a barbecue. We'll have a laugh and watch the movie. That's the whole point. And if we clear out all the politicking and all the other stuff, you're just trying to get money and access to be able to tell the stories you want to tell. And yes, you have to play the game.
The only downside of all this, and not to switch gears here, but is the whole Rangers of the New Republic thing. And we're getting word now that it's been put on a shelf or even maybe canceled at this point, because it basically was supposed to be the springboard to other shows. That to me is kind of a sign that things didn't work out trying to get Gina back if there was some kind of attempt. And because we're hearing this now, again, and this is just me speculating, so don't take this like I've heard anything or anything like that. I'm just saying, I do feel like they may have reached out to her and she's like, no, thank you, but thanks. You guys treated me like shit. Fuck off.
You know what? I bet two things happened. I think you're right. They reached out. She's like, look, I hooked up with Daily Wire. They're giving me my own movies that I want to make. I really don't like the way you treated me. Two, Disney probably floated, and I think I even read stories about it. They floated the idea of replacing her and recasting her, and that just went down like a plane on fire. So they probably let both of those things happen. Crunch numbers, looked at it and went, you know what? We can't make this work because it was built around somebody that we let go.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's the only reason we're hearing this now. And again, I heard the same thing you did, was like there was this floating around, and I think it even come up in a couple of news stories where they're like, yeah, they're toying with the idea of recasting her, but I'm sure Favreau would be like, fuck to the no.
Yeah. John Favreau wrote it for her. I mean,
exactly.
He's like, look, guys, let's just let it go and work on these other shows, because I'm not going to fight over this. John Favreau doesn't want to get into this stuff. He just wants to. You got a limited amount of time with your creative peaks, and he's like, look, I just want to make the shows. Fine, he's somebody that I liked. You guys don't like. You let her go. It was a complete PR nightmare. Can I please make another show? Maybe the Boba Fett show will be. You guys won't fire everybody I'm bringing in on that.
And again, we're just speculating here. This is
of course
nothing to go on. Yeah. Other than just other
than these are human beings, and this would be my reaction as a person, as a creative person, and I've been on the lot of Disney, and I've worked at these studios, and that's exactly how I would have been. I'd be like, okay, You didn't like who I wanted to do. I want to keep making this stuff. So how do we make this work? How do I figure out some way that I get to still tell stories, because I love Star Wars. I want to keep doing it. So despite all the things you're trying to make, destroy all the hard work we're doing, we had this credible goodwill with Mandalorian. Frankly, I'd be surprised they came out with another season of Mandalorian. I think they'll just really focus on these other shows.
Well, yeah, there's been speculation on that, as if there's even going to be a third season.
Yeah, does there need to be? Yeah, does there need to be, or all of a sudden does Obi-Wan get some interest, and Ahsoka and all these other ones may be great. Hopefully, knock on wood, and if they're great, we won't miss it.
Yeah, because Mando season 3 still has yet to start filming. And from the interview with Gina on Ben Shapiro, I believe it was, she even talked about what the plans were going into season 3. So it's not like they hadn't planned a season 3.
Yeah,
but I gotta imagine when she was told, everything kind of just fell apart.
Yeah, you may not want that to be, because the press too. The lead story will be Mandalorian, the show known for firing sub-series, is coming back with season 3. There's no escaping that headline.
Yeah, and Stephanie Janicek brings up there's a rumor the Rangers wasn't hers. They were developing something bigger for her. Yeah, you may not have heard, but I brought that up earlier, and I don't even know if that was a rumor anymore, because I think that was in an article, and it was I can't remember if it was in an interview, if it was just a rumor in an article, but that was like not too long ago, where they had said that this show was meant to be a springboard for multiple shows, right, Andre?
Yes, that was indeed the intention. It was indeed meant to spring out from there. But then who knows what's going to happen now?
Yeah, exactly. And they say it's on the back burner, but I don't know if this even happens now.
Yeah, there's a lot of other shows that are coming out, and if a couple of them are good, we'll focus on that, and this unfortunately will just fall away.
And I'm curious, you guys out there, because I haven't watched it. I've never been a big Clone Wars fan, so I haven't got into the show. The Bad Batch, which I think had a new episode last night. How are you guys enjoying the show on a scale of 1 to 5 for those who are watching it? Just throw a number in the chat. I'm just curious, because I've been hearing a lot of mixed stuff for that, which I'm surprised, because the Clone Wars was always pretty popular, but this Bad Batch thing hasn't been the most popular. And I think that's one of Filoni's babies too, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe it is. Yeah.
I'd love to see we got a 1 and a 5 right after. And then we got a 7, so Ed really likes it. Got a 5, another 5. We got a 3, got a 5, 4, a 3.5, 3 out of 5, another 4. A lot of like it.
Yeah. Well, it's also hard to judge a show after only a few episodes.
No, true.
A lot of shows don't even find their voice until like the second, third season. Look at Star Trek, finding its voice like in the 3rd or 4th season, really. So it's always hard. I'm always hesitant to do a judgment of something when you're just starting to find your footing. I always look at season 1 is like the first day when you're on a film shoot or you're shooting. You're finding out how things work. You're finding what works and doing these things. And hopefully, if it's not terrible, you get a chance to do a season 2 and really find your rhythm and your footing. So, it definitely is one of Filoni's babies.
Yes, it certainly is. So it'll be interesting to see how they navigate themselves after this. How they will be able to move forward. But him in that position is certainly a step in the right direction.
I agree, and I think Favreau and Filoni, I'm a big fan, and I think, given the resources, they're going to be able to do something great, but there needs to be a lot better management. If you said, Andre, it's like, this is a company. There needs to be management of the messaging. There needs to stop being these unforced errors. And particularly looking at the stockholders or looking at the bottom line as a financial decision, it just makes sense to have a cohesive messaging, cohesive story, high quality, and stop having these loose cannons have direct access to the public to mock them or bully them or belittle anyone. Why on earth? It's just bad business.
Yeah. And again, like I know we're early, like you said, Tom, we're early on in the show. I just wanted to kind of get an overall feel, and it's all over the spectrum. Diego, though, our good friend, and I believe helps us out over at Midnight Edge Espanol, says Bad Batch is mixed because both extremes of the political spectrum complain because it's Lucasfilm or doesn't match narrative. Well, that can be a problem. Because I know this much about sci-fi and Star Wars specifically. The politics are not such a big problem in Star Wars as other things, because politics have always kind of been a part of Star Wars, but it's how it's handled. And I think that's probably the overall kind of gist of this. And if it's something that's kind of this current day forced politics, it really, you have a tough time making it work. Because most Star Wars in the past has been based on extreme, politics and wars and other things, mainly from the distant past for the most part, not like the recent past. Yeah. I think with a few exceptions, like there was a little bit of a nod to like Vietnam in the earlier films, and Lucas made some off the wall comment about Episode 3's politics having a lot to do with like the Patriot Act or some shit at the time. But again, normally they're not like that into it. They're just kind of a springboard of sorts, I guess. Yeah. But nowadays they're being very interjected. Yeah.
I think you're right. I think the thing that makes what I always call something evergreen, and when a project is evergreen, it means, 30 years from now you can watch it and you didn't need to know the political climate of that month when it came out or what the political belief was. I think a conservative person and a very liberal person can enjoy the original Star Wars because it is about mythological things that progressives and conservatives agree with, about good versus evil. It's about someone from a small world being thrust out on an adventure in a larger world. All of these things are human things, and they're not of their time, which is, look at music. If they had used, synthesizer music from the 70s, it would have dated Star Wars right away. But classical music played with real instruments, played in an orchestral thing, that's lasted hundreds of years, and that also makes it timeless. I think instead of making things timely, we need to make them timeless. And the accent has been, this is very timely. It's coming out at the right time. Well, 3 years from now, the last thing I'm going to want to hear is people's thoughts on the problem that happened last year, with all of that. And I think something timeless instead of a very timely film coming out is going to have a much longer shelf life. It's going to appeal to everyone in the political spectrum. We need to stop cutting out people that like a more traditional storytelling, that don't want the wokeness. Just make a movie that is timeless. You can infuse it with your own beliefs, but make them universal and not a bully pulpit of we're telling you what to think. We're simply asking you to think.
Yeah. Diego also sends in another super chat here, and we need to get back to the classic super chats as well. It says, in the Espanol channel, we said it was enjoyable and continue to watch. Yeah, they're actually that's all, folks. They're actually reviewing the show over on Midnight Edge Espanol, if I'm not mistaken, because we calculate it's Filoni woke, which is 12% according to him. It's fun. It actually shows a positive father-daughter relationship. Yeah, that's one of the things that I've heard as a point was the whole young clone thing, and I'm just scratching my head about that whole entire thing. But with that, Andre, any thoughts before we jump to some super chats?
No, not any particular thoughts on that.
All right. Well, what do you got for the classic super chats that we haven't got?
For classic super chats, I've got Stephen Otten, who says, "Hail Andre, Tom Konkle, Wrenches and Midnighters. I'm busy trying to figure out if my air conditioner is broken or if I am." Well, hopefully it's the air conditioner, or this news is way, way too exciting. Well, let's gamble for the air conditioner. And then we have Tony Albano, who says, "I'm just hoping beyond hope that Star Woke is ending and Star Wars is returning." And Mr. Tickletrunk said, "Hail to the great Kunkel." And Dash D's asks, "Mr. Konkle, the new fan film Bucketheads released. What do you think of it as an independent? If not, check it out.
You know, I've heard about it. It was about the lives of stormtroopers, I think. Go ahead.
I've seen the first like 10 minutes of one of the episodes. We watched it on Echo Base the other night.
How was it?
It's pretty good. There's a few things you could nitpick on, but overall, the story actually takes place during the fight of the second Death Star.
Oh, that's great.
So in the first episode, without too many spoilers, like you actually get to see the Death Star blow up from some stormtroopers' point of view.
That's great. Well, you know what? What I say about Bucketheads is anybody that finds some inspiration and gets to do creativity and gets to make a movie, I applaud them because it's a victory just to get the thing done and out. Fan films are a great way for people to hone their craft and learn how to filmmaking. And if you've got a unique take on Star Wars, I think it's awesome. I'll have to check it out. Any fan film that's well done is often a springboard for them creating their own original stuff, which is also a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, it runs the gambit, but overall, the quality of it, very high quality for fan film, definitely.
That's fantastic.
Yes, very cool. Then HyperGyver2 says, I was going to ask Andre, have you read any of the Tor or Bantam Conan novels, like Conan the Savage, Conan the Magnificent, and Conan the Victorious? The answer to that is no, I haven't read a single one of them. I haven't read the pastiches. The only ones I've read are the Elsbrag de Camp rewrites of Howard, none other than that. I have read the Roy Thomas adaptations, though, in Savage Sword of Conan, for some of them. But
what did you think of those?
The comic book adaptations? Really good.
Yeah,
I enjoyed them. I enjoyed the comic book adaptations a great deal.
I really like the original Conan. I like the original way it was done. I think that voice, that particular style, I love that pulp style. I would love to see someone actually tap into that even more. I'm glad you like those because I think there's something there that hasn't been explored enough.
Yeah, I agree completely. So fingers crossed they'll do that in the Netflix series, that they'll get off the ground and that they'll do it right. Fingers crossed for that.
Fingers crossed.
And Pixel Supreme says, hail from rainy Switzerland. Keep up the great job for 20 Swiss franc. Oh, thank you so much.
I do have a little bit of breaking news that may be some bad news for anybody in the Snyder camp. Snyder has started writing a King Arthur movie. So that means
he's copying me. Yeah.
So he's getting more work. So that's
come on. Of course he's going to get more work. There's even falling upward in Hollywood. You know, you can have a series of failures and still get it. But yeah, he's connected.
That means if there was any chance of anything coming, it's still farther down the line. The more he stacks on top of himself.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
Get to it anytime soon.
I don't know. It's interesting that there's this interesting King Arthur. I mean, it resonated with me, and I was thinking about it as an inspiration. There must be something in the zeitgeist of mythology, particularly that mythology, that's resonating with people. But that's really interesting because that's definitely an influence on what I'm doing.
Yes.
Indeed. All right. What else you got for us, Andre?
Yes, we've got Darius Münchhausen, who sent us a popcorn super sticker, so thanks for that. And Dash D says for 10 Canadian dollars, thank you. If Disney is good at putting out feelers for direction, then why are they in this spot in the first place? It's 7 years from The Force Awakens, and the Titanic keeps hitting more icebergs.
Well, I think it's the Hollywood bubble, probably more so. I mean, as I brought up before, the first film was this huge, massive hit. So Bob Iger saw what that was, and he's like, oh, well, Kennedy's instincts were correct. I think he even said something to that effect in the book, because she's not mentioned very much in the book either. But then, it took a little while after The Last Jedi for the fallout to start to happen. And it really hit Solo, I think, is when it really kind of hit him hard. and they realized,
yeah,
oh,
and the firing on Rogue One, that was also a real bellwether of like something's wrong. Like, why are you reshooting this movie? There's a lot of times when the directors were let go that it's sort of like, are you reading the scripts? Like, was it a fluke that, you know? I think Force Awakens had the benefit of just being unknown. You know, they just didn't know what was it going to be like, and what you know, it comes out, and of course everybody was reinterested in Star Wars, and they hoped to see the 3 original characters together. So it's a bit like saying, you know, 1 billion customers served, half of them very angry after they were served.
Indeed. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing with KK. She's always had a revolving door of directors, and we made the joke early on that she's had, you know, worked with more directors than they've had projects come out, but now it's actually true. The joke became true, like with all the ones, even the one, I don't even believe the Mangold story. He comes out and says, "Oh no, I was never going to make a Boba Fett movie." Bullshit.
Why did they announce? They announced.
Yeah.
It. Yeah.
Just like, yeah, Indiana Jones just happened to fall in your lap. Bullshit, buddy. It was a makeup movie. Come on. And there's another reason why you're involved in that, but we don't need to get into that. But that's just because they probably wanted to do what for Indiana Jones, what they did for Logan, but that's neither here nor there. But we got, so much better when you say it, Andre. In the chat again. So glad to see you here. We thought we'd missed you for a while, but it turns out there was a mistake and you weren't able to comment for a while, but we got that fixed. So glad to see you in the chat.
Yes, indeed. Then Cultured Casino says, yeah, we got that one already, that this news was timed. And then Alex Asara says, please tell me Karen Gillian is Mara Jade, not Brie. I don't know, but I would be surprised if they went with Brie Larson. I really would. I think that they are.
I almost dare them to at this point.
Well, if they, because here's like the thing, they cast her, they're going to lose all the goodwill for everything else.
To a point, yeah, but like that's where my just, you know, selfishness comes in, or Schadenfreude or whatever. Like it's like, just might as well at this point buy Jeremy a house, buy me another car. You know, that's all they're gonna do if they make Brie Larson married and put Brie Larson in Star Wars. Period. And you're basically giving, you know, all the YouTube commentators fodder for the next fucking decade. So, but yeah. Indeed. Anyway, Andre, go moving on.
Moving on, we have The Last Millennial says, guys, here's what's gonna happen. Dave and Ryan Jr. are good friends, and the chances of Dave giving Ryan his trilogy are now higher than ever. Not good people. But here's the thing. Despite his position, his new role, or actually not that new role, Dave Filoni can't give Ryan Johnson a trilogy. He doesn't have that power. He's not the president of Lucasfilm.
Correct.
Technically, I've heard that even KK can't make that call, because she can still greenlight TV shows all day long, but from what I've heard, she still has to go through the powers that be to get a movie greenlit.
Exactly. The only thing that possibly can be done is have Ryan Johnson come in and direct an episode of The Mandalorian or one of the other series, in which case it's going to be kind of like the Marvel way of doing things, which is that the episode has to begin here and it has to end here. And as long as those points are met, you have some room to maneuver in between the two from A to B, but you can't radically subvert expectations. So him directing an episode, he can't do that much damage in that, but I think that's the only thing that can possibly happen here. Him chumming up to Filoni to get to direct an episode. But trilogy, nope, that he can't make that call. Under the new Byzantine structure, that's distribution that makes that call.
Yeah, the money, they probably package it and say, look, this is what we'd like to make, but from up on high and distribution and from the executive branch, they're going to be the ones that allocate the money to it. So if they say no, it doesn't really matter. It's not going to go.
Yeah, indeed. And then we have, let's see, Dash D's says, Filoni respects Star Wars. He was building Ahsoka and wanted her to have a yellow saber. Yellow is temple gods only, and asked Lucas, who said, no, that's not canon. Filoni respected that, and she got another. So yeah, hopefully he'll bring that with him. And then Roll Titan says, if all roads still lead to green milk dripping down Luke's chin, I don't care what they do. The universe is fundamentally broken. I don't know for certain that all roads lead there. I don't know that they do, but we'll see.
Yeah. Well, you were going to say something, Tom, before that?
I was just going to say, yeah, I think it's pretty obvious. Not only do we fans not like the latest trilogy, but it was not a success. And you notice they don't mention it as much. And certainly, you can see that in sales of toys and even mentioning it and things. I think that was a disaster. Now, whether that should define Star Wars and Lucasfilm from here on out, I agree with you, Andre. I don't think that it's the be all and end all. I think it's a sore point. I think they really dropped the ball, especially with the original cast. It's not the trilogy I would have wanted to make. If I were directing it, I'd say 1 or 2 writers do all 3 of them. There needs to be continuity. If there's not the same director, then certainly the directors have to talk to each other. The trilogy, to be a trilogy, should have been written before the first one was started. I think the lesson from this is going forward, they're into TV, and what does well on TV will probably leap onto the big screen.
Yeah, I think so too. That is going to be like that's the testing round. And what works there, that is what we're going to get. I do believe that.
I agree.
Then Goddess of Whim 2003 says, I don't know enough about the Star Wars EU to be excited for Thrawn. There's too much to sift through of canon versus non-canon. Just give me good stories. Yeah, to many of us on the outside, that's that's really the gist of it. But the thing with the extended universe is that there you have some good stories, you have some bad stories, you have some in-between stories. And the good stories are the popular ones, and the Thrawn trilogy is one of those. So if they pick and choose from the good ones, the popular ones, we should be in fairly good hands. That's my thoughts on that. Mr. Tickle Trunk says, took Star Wars back and got a rash. Luke gave up. Han lost his courage. Leia let the Empire come back. Star Wars left with a football team. I've kicked her out too.
Well, you colored up that analogy pretty good.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
And then Merlin's Id says for $10, I'm hopeful but cautious. I'd rather support new media and buy up good classics like Blackest Night and Rebirth. If the conscience of Hollywood doesn't change, I'm not interested. Hail Midnight's Edge and CAP. What's CAP stand for?
CAP.
We'll have to find out what that means.
I know what Live Long and Prosper, LLAP, is, but
well, in any event, yeah. So thank you, and yeah, I agree completely. That's a very good point. Support what is good, but that you also have to support. Send the right message. Fear Sundown says, knowing lore is not equal to telling a good story.
Very true.
Indeed, and Pablo Hidalgo is walking proof of that. Rob Altis says for $5, Disney thought that by buying Star Wars, the fans came with a deal. So their whole intent was to get new fans, and they've managed to lose both. Yeah, that's the irony. They decided that, okay, now we have something that appeals to the boys. Let's change it to bring in the girls and make a statement here. Nice going with that. And then they lost everyone. Like, it shouldn't be possible. As Kamran Pasha pointed out when he was here the last time, there wasn't any risk in buying Star Wars. It was a license to print money, and they still found a way to screw it up.
That is true.
And then on top of that, it defeated the purpose of getting it in the first place, because Iger's entire motivation for bringing Marvel and Star Wars to the table was, we've already got the market cornered when it comes to girls with the Disney princesses and all that business. We want to get the boys on board too. And what better way than to buy the two biggest toy properties there are out there right now for boys? And then what did they do? They made it a big girls club.
They made it a girls club. Yeah. Can you imagine if they had come out with something that the boys and guys would have really loved? Like if they had come out with like Western meets sci-fi, like Mandalorian, and had made it really good, everything would have been different. Everything from there on, that would have set the tone, and it would have been like, we know who likes this. We're not trying to change you. Just enjoy it. It would have been so amazing if it had been done like a guy film.
Well, and it's such a spit in the face of the women who do enjoy it and have, you know.
Yeah, women love guys. Yeah, I keep talking to people. It's like some women that are the most feminine, sexy, intelligent people. They love Predator. They love The Thing. They love Master and Commander. Yeah, it's like there's no women in that. It's not. It's condescending to go, you know, I don't think a woman's going to understand this unless we put a female character in it. It's like, are you kidding me? Women love watching men being masculine, being manly, being normal that way. There's nothing wrong with it. We've tried to make it an outlier. Maybe I'm just going off on a rant here.
No, you're right.
As somebody that likes women as well, I know that women like watching men's films. That they love Rambo. Somebody was just saying it is completely sexist to say, oh, well, women only can watch women issue films or lesbian dramas or things like that. No, sometimes a woman's like, hey, I want to sit on the couch with my guy or by myself or with other girls and watch something that's quote unquote for men. It's as condescending as going, oh, well, you know, men can't watch rom-coms, or men can never watch a Jane Austen film. It's like, a man made that Jane Austen film.
Well, yeah, and as Drew pointed out, you know, like you said, too, the women love Rambo. Actually, you'd be surprised how many women actually were really they loved the First Blood film, and compared to a lot of his other films. And and what was it, 2 years ago when the new Rambo movie came out, or a year and a half ago?
My favorite year and a half. My favorite story.
Yeah, where you just kind of noticed that, hey, more women went to see Rambo than went to see Charlie's Angels.
Yeah.
Boy, I wonder why.
When did it become weird to think, oh, women like men doing men things with men and being masculine? When is that, like, why am I radical to say that? Like the women that are here in the chat, or women that enjoy the films that we like, I would love to hear from you, where it's like, does it seriously have to not be masculine for you to be interested? I mean, what happened to women being interested in things that guys like or that guys are doing? You know, it's strange to me that we have to say it in 2021. Women like men. Women love men. Women are okay with men being masculine. The coolest women you're going to know let you be a man.
Well, and it's funny because like RJ Oldenburg brings up here, women like Rocky. That was one I know they've tried canceling, I don't know how many times now, where they'll come up with, oh, Rocky's a bit too rapey in that scene, and women are just like, no, that's fucking romantic as shit the way he pulls that off, because that woman was in her shell and Rocky's an outcast, and those two were meant for each other, and that is one of the greatest love stories of all time, and it is heartbreaking in Rocky Balboa when she isn't there. Like and
he loves her. It's not rapey. It's him being assertive and saying, look, I love you. I'm going to break you out of your cell. You can't get out of your own way. He's not going to rape her. He's not doing something against her. Women like it when a guy takes charge and does something like that.
He goes, I'm going to kiss you. You don't have to kiss me back if you want.
Exactly. And if it was going to get rapey, her character would have just left. He's not going to stop her. That's crazy.
No, it's ridiculous.
And we should listen to what women are saying about it. And if women are saying, you know what, no, it was romantic, or I want a guy who takes charge. I don't want a wimpy guy. I don't want a guy who like, is it okay if I do this? It's like, no. And I don't know when we've feminized everything, but men should be allowed to be masculine. Women should be allowed to be anything they want to be. They're women. They should be able to enjoy what they want. We've got to stop saying, no, we can't relate unless it's there. Not once when I was a kid growing up did I go, gosh, if Clint Eastwood was only my age, I would really enjoy this film.
Well, and one of the great character moments in Rocky is when everything's going off at the very end, and it just kind of shows you how much she means to him. Is she comes up and, she hugs him and all that kind of stuff, and he's like, where's your hat?
Yeah, I mean, that's a real moment. That is.
He's like, all this shit's going on, and all he's concentrated on this woman right now. Like that doesn't. All that other shit does not matter. This man just went the distance with the fucking champ,
and she matters to him. And
exactly.
Women are not stupid. They pick that up. A woman watching that would be like, wow, I love that. The macro, all this stuff's going on, and he accomplished what he wanted to do. It was his mythic journey to get that. But at the end of the day, he didn't. He didn't think about that. He thought about, I did it with her, with this woman. She's the focus. And at the end of the day, she inspired him. She's his muse. She's important. It's okay for her to be feminine and important to him and have him move forward. It doesn't diminish her. It actually elevates them. They're supposed to be a team.
Well, and that's what I love about the sequels, because as you move along, his masculinity brings out her femininity.
Yes,
more so.
Exactly. And they complement each other. And there's nothing wrong with that. The idea that we're going to turn that into something bad is just crazy. It's crazy talk. And it goes against even human biology.
And a great way to wrap that up is Rob Eltis says here, and that is why Rocky is timeless.
That is true.
And speaking of timeless, we've got some classic super chats to finish.
We do indeed, and the next classic super chat is from Max Relax. So again, you can't see this on screen, but I see it here behind the scenes. And Max Relax says, "Thanks for another quality show." Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for watching. And then Stephanie Janisek's Smuggler's Cantina says, "There's a rumor Rangers wasn't hers. They were developing something bigger for her," referring, of course, to Gina Carano. And yes, we have reported on this as well. The Rangers of the New Republic wasn't apparently the Gina Carano series. She would feature in it, but she would just be one of several cast members. However, that was the series which was going to pave the way for the eventual Cara Dune series. That is what we have heard. The accuracy of it, I honestly don't know, but I would be inclined to believe it, because it would kind of like fit with the branching path strategy that they seemed to be taking there.
Yeah, and I was going to say, Tweeter Trash points out here, and I don't know the actual logistics of if this is real or not, but I can believe it. More women saw Joker than Birds of Prey. Well, yeah, just by pure numbers. But I'm sure there was more women interested in it because of Joaquin Phoenix and other reasons. Yeah, definitely, I can see that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Again, you have to make a breakdown of numbers on Rambo versus Charlie's Angels. We actually did a breakdown on the numbers and percentages, and from those you could read that more women in hard numbers saw Rambo: Last Blood in its opening weekend than went to see Charlie's Angels. Yeah,
and as Hard Guy points out,
obviously many women went to see Rambo with their partners. Let's not deny it, but still.
Yeah. But as Mecha J pointed out, 40% of Charlie's Angels audience were women, yet they blamed men. Yeah, what's her face? Elizabeth Banks literally went out and blamed men, and it's like, more men went to see your movie, honey. So I don't know who you're blaming.
Well, in fact, I bet more men watched Cheryl Ladd and Jacqueline Smith back in the 70s than women did on TV. I know I watched it.
How do you make a bad Charlie's Angels? And I've heard the movie isn't actually that bad and isn't as He-Man or woman hating or woman man hating kind of movie as most people kind of thought it was. But that's the thing, is how do you make a movie like that they've never been able to make one that didn't make money? Like the last two made money. The show was a huge hit. Like you said, Tom, it's like a win-win scenario. You got kick-ass women, and you've got, and they look good, and they're using their,
make them really super attractive. Solving some mystery. I mean, they are like, like a team of James Bonds doing this kind of thing. Why is that? Why do we need to okay, well, no, we can desexualize them. Don't make them too feminine. Make them about, men being the problem. It's like, if you look at the original show, it was just about 3 women who happen to be very attractive, smart, have all the skills, solving things. Can't we just make a movie like that? Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, and that's why the first two, well, I say first two, but the whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
The ones with
Drew Barrymore
and stuff. The reason they worked is because they had fun.
Yes, there was still a sense of fun, which is much needed in movies. And also, it wasn't men bad every single time.
Yeah, indeed. And moving on with the super chats. Tom, did we get both from Diego Flores?
I don't know if we got both of them.
Because both extremes of the political spectrum complain because it's Lucasfilm or doesn't match narrative.
We got that one.
Yeah, okay, yeah, then we got both. And then Stephanie Yanni, Sex Smuggler's Cantina, again says, Star Wars is supposed to be timeless. Relevant politics date a story.
That is so true. That goes to what I was talking about.
Extremely true.
Yeah. Timely is not as good as timeless. Oh, and a shout out to Big Daddy MRI, who also said some nice things in the chat.
Yeah, he's a great fan of the channel. No, that's why Star Wars, I think, worked. Is Vietnam was fresh, and that's where the rebellion part kind of came from. But the rest of it clearly draws inspiration from World War II.
Oh, absolutely. It was a great war where there was black and white and there was right and wrong. And actually Star Wars was an answer to all the very kind of muddy, negative, downer, Vietnam movies and movies that were coming out at the time. It's a very hopeful movie. It's a old school adventure. Yeah, it was like a World War II movie. Yes, we're all clouded and by the politics and the sort of gray areas that we've created with political wars. Sure. But I don't want that just to be the only thing that my adventure is about or what it is. You go to a movie to escape from the real world. It's like you can get all the crappy stuff at home. You go to the movies to be uplifted by it and to learn something about the human condition, but also just to have fun, the kinetics, the rush. You want to walk out feeling like you were in the movie.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Indeed.
And I think it was Walter Cronkite who basically said that Star Wars came out at a time when America wanted to get out of the funk of the Vietnam War. They needed that.
Yeah.
So. And Hollywood had gotten too serious. Yeah,
you're absolutely right, Tom. It could, sometimes the world's not ready for what you have to offer, and sometimes it is. He came out with that film, and it hit the zeitgeist. It hit whatever it needed to do for us to kind of go, you know what? No, we're not going to be self-loathing. We're tired of staring at our navel. There is hope. There's this new mythology. There's all this new technology coming out. It's how are we going to interact with machines, and what about the Force, and what is it like to just have the hero's journey? If you think about it, the classic hero's journey is the underpinning of all the great adventure films. We just lost it for a while. We started deconstructing it or whatever. That film just reasserted the power of myths that have been in every culture. You talk about diverse. The hero's journey is literally in everyone's story, from the Mayans, the Greeks, the Romans, the Chinese. Everyone has these very similar myths. All Star Wars did is resynthesize it into something that we could all enjoy and put it in a sci-fi background. If somebody at Lucasfilm figured that out again, you'd have a bunch of great films come out, because that's what we want to resonate with. We don't want something that's of its time or deconstructs everything or says, no, it's not an adventure, or no, the world doesn't work that way and everything is wrong. That's the problem with things right now. Star Trek has turned where the Federation is the problem, or the aspirations of it are the problem. Star Wars has said mythology is the problem, that men are the problem. We've gotten away from all that, and all the fans are scratching their head going, why aren't you doing stuff that I want to watch? Why are you making this hard for me to enjoy it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, Indeed. And moving on with the super chats. Next one then is from James Hancock, who said, "It's like what Tom said a while ago. Filoni will only be concerned about Ahsoka and stuff involving her, but not answering why she's never met Luke." Yeah,
the thing is with Filoni, like I never got into the Clone Wars or any of his other stuff, and I've heard speeches where he talks on a lot of these kind of politics, and Andre's probably right. He probably is just a good politician. He knows exactly what games to play with whom, and Favreau's very reliant on him for the shows, and that's probably why he's in this position. I mean, is he the right guy for the job? I don't know. He worked long enough with George Lucas. He probably knows the franchise just as well as he does, or anybody else for that matter. You know, I mean, if you listen to what's his name, Freddie Prinze Jr., I learned from Dave Filoni, who learned from George Lucas, dog. So like he knows this shit. So according to him, so whatever. I don't know. Again, I'm not a big expanded universe person. I don't know if Tom wants to add anything to that or Andre, but yeah.
Well, at least he's moving it. Like I say, you may not agree with everything. He's his own guy, and he's going to have foibles and little agendas of his own. Any artist does, but at least he's moving the ball forward in a way that is in keeping with the tone or the spirit of Star Wars. You may not like some of the choices made, that's fine. But you've got a guy who at least has a cohesive view of a universe. When you're creating a mythology and you're creating stories and long arcs of characters, this is a guy who clearly cares and has come up in great detail with a bunch of characters, and he's just trying to interconnect all of it and have it all kind of make sense. And yeah, he's going to stumble, you're going to make some mistakes or whatever, but I'm glad there's somebody there that doesn't just breeze in, go, hey, it'd be good to have Star Wars on my resume, and then I can go do something else.
Right. No, and I'd honestly rather him be there doing it for selfish reasons than for the political ones, to be honest with you. Because, that's kind of the same thing where I joke about, like, I miss capitalism in my movies.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah, indeed. And then, returning to the classic super chats, we have Roger Rage, who says, "If you hate Ewoks, you'll like bucket heads."
Yeah,
that's funny.
And
I'll have to check that out. I did a couple little fan films too. I did one where it was Darth Vader trying to crowdfund another Death Star. Like these are the videos. I actually put it in the chat to you guys. If you want to see, the link is in there. But it's basically Vader doing those little updates like you do on Indiegogo or Kickstarter. But then his second in command pointing out, it's like, I don't think these are good perks. Like, I don't think destroying their planet is a good level 4 perk. So I play Vader in it, and you guys will have to check it out. It was a lot of fun. Someone had asked us to do that, and then I ended up doing like 5 or 6 of them, and I had so much fun. I actually have some ideas for some more, but doing fan films lets your creative juice out, and you'll have to see it. It's kickstarting the new Death Star.
You'll have to send those to me.
I sent it to you in the private chat.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
very cool.
Okay, I see it right there. Okay, maybe we'll have to watch.
Yeah, post it up if people want to take a look. It's
definitely.
And then Big Daddy MRI says, "I joined MEIT. Hail Andre, Tom Connors, and Tom Konkle. Love the channel, among my favorite on YouTube. Keep up."
Oh, thank you. Yes, you've been making some nice comments. Thank you, Big Daddy.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for the kind words. And then sent us a super sticker. And Granwasu42 says, "Talking about King Arthur. Has anybody seen the trailers of The Green Knight? Mr. Bates loves it."
Yes, Dev Patel's in it. It looks really good. Now here's an opportunity. This is a new original thing. Let's support it. If it's good, let's go see it, so that the message is, oh, you can do something that's not a franchise existing property. It looks, from the trailer, I got excited. It looks like it could be very cool. It kind of looks like a Excalibur type look to it, and a little Gilliam in there. it look, check out the trailer for it and let people know that we want to see some new stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
I haven't seen it myself, but I've heard good things. So yeah, I'll probably check that trailer out. And awesome to hear that it, by all accounts, is pretty cool.
Oh, here we go. There's a crowdfunding thing. Yeah.
This is only 2 minutes, so I figure we can show this real quick.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
And I'm sure
a shout out to Dave Beeler, who plays Admiral Nod, who is my assistant on this.
And I'm sure the mods will be sharing your link in the chat for your YouTube channel here. But if not, I'll get that out there as well. But here we go. Let's check this out real quick. Let's make sure we got some volume here. All right.
Spend a little money on that shot.
Lord Vader, excuse me again. You're doing a fantastic job.
Well, don't tell me while I'm recording it. I know I'm doing a good job. I'm the fucking architect of this plan.
Yes, my lord. The problem is, if you ensure the destruction of the donator's homeworld, won't you be de-incentivizing the very crowd you wish to engage?
What?
Well, if the campaign is successful, there won't be a crowd to engage.
I'm certain I don't see a problem with my crowdsourcing plan for a new Death Star.
It's just that, look, sir, at the 20 credit level, you promised the holographic video updates to the backers of the Death Star.
You mean we have to give them all the perks from the 20 credit underling level on down?
Yes, that's how the crowdfunding perks work, sir. They get everything you promised up to the level they donated, which means that there won't be anyone to get the custom additional content holographic video updates if you've blown their planet into space dust at the 10 credit level.
I certainly hope Tatooine donates.
That's not the point, my lord.
I don't like Tatooine. Where's that buckthorn bark tea you promised me?
I shall have it for you in the parsec.
It's good for my colon.
I've often wondered how you managed it in the outfit.
It's a sealed system, Admiral.
So you mean this whole time you've been... requesting full retreat, my lord.
Very interesting. Good. That's awesome.
It's the sealed system, if you ever wondered how he managed to go to the bathroom. A lot of them are like that. It just gets worse and worse and worse for all the different levels that he has. And I even have the print come up for the levels, but it's written in the Imperial language, so you can't understand what it says. So there's a lot of fun we had doing those.
Awesome. All right. So what else we got, Andre, for super chats?
Yes, for super chats, we have, let's see where we were. Just going to do a quick refresh here. Yes, KitKat wonders, any plans for a second episode of either Norse mythology or Beyond the Edge? Yes, both are recorded and they're in the works, so they'll be out this weekend, won't they, Tom?
Sure.
Yeah. Exactly. And to those wondering what KitKat is referring to, these are like our exclusive membership perks. Just to continue from the clip that we saw, wherein I narrate the stories of Norse mythology as well as relay the full detailed behind the scene story of Midnight's Edge. And a new episode will be forthcoming this weekend, because it's already recorded and in the can, so it's just a matter of getting it out there. There will also be an exclusive membership stream, another one, in the next couple of days. So yeah, members will be notified.
I thought we already did 2 of the Norse ones already.
Yeah, we recorded. Only one of them has been released.
I thought I actually edited the second one, though.
Oh, yeah, okay, fine. The third, yeah, that's true. But one was a prequel. That's
okay,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Okay.
Second proper episode is in the can and just waiting to be released. And then E. Clay Thomason wonders, is it wrong to eat an Ewok? I mean, it's basically a bear, right? What do you think it tastes like?
Chicken.
Yup, no. I will say right away, yes, it's wrong to eat an Ewok.
No, it's not.
It is, however, not
disagree.
wrong to eat a pork. Pork is what you want to eat. I would eat when we have pork.
I disagree. An Ewok would eat you, so eat it back.
Yeah, but that's what makes it so bad to eat. I mean, like the porks, they're not meat eaters. They're like birds, and birds are great to eat.
Point taken.
Whereas carnivores have crap meat.
Because
it's how they're cooked. It's how they're served. It's like kosher.
I agree there, because I do have a rule that I won't eat anything that could eat me. So I'll agree with you there on that one.
Yeah,
I don't eat anything with the head still on it. That's my rule. Nothing with the head still on it.
I really do want me a pork though. They look tasty.
They do look tasty. I agree.
Yeah, and Mecca J says for $20, thank you so much. You guys should check out an upcoming fan film of Silent Hill called Silent Hill Restless Dreams. Been hearing good things about it. It's starring voice actor Vic Mignogna and Oscar-nominated actor Eric Roberts. Wow. Silent Hill fan film.
Interesting.
Cool. I'm a huge fan of the 2006 Silent Hill movie. I mean, people that say that the video game movies are cursed get bent. That movie's a masterpiece.
Yeah, I'll have to look for that fan film as well. I like that film.
Yeah, I'll be sure to check that out. And then Merlin's Ids clarifies, sorry, Tom, I mixed you up with Ethan.
Okay. We both like pies. I mean...
Yeah. And Hypergiver 2 says, Disney hates the EU, yet they're trying to bank on it. Just look at the 50th anniversary Black Series release of Jackson and Heir to the Empire Luke. They certainly do like to try whereas possible. And then Bratty Kid sent us a behind-the-scenes super sticker. And Michael Miller says, women who say women don't like men movies are women. Men don't want to F in the first place. That could very well be. And then Stephanie Janisek Smuggler's Cantina says, I'm one of those women who love men and male-centric movies. Give me Han and Leia in Empire Strikes Back anytime.
Exactly. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't know when this got weird.
Yeah, exactly. And then we have...
They got to end, traditional relationships.
Because, of course, women don't want that. Yeah.
And then Straight White Mage says, toxic femininity was all about how women don't mind the peekaboo window and on-screen tatas. And Ray Young 74 says, for £5 Pablo got his position because he was in with KK. With KK going, he has lost his top cover. Exactly. This is also what Cameron Pasha was saying, that Kathleen Kennedy, she is the one holding the finger in the dam. I believe was the metaphor that he used. And once she is gone, the whole thing collapses. Then the entire story group, all of them, they're leaderless, and then they're headless chickens running around, ready to be plucked off one by one. So I agree, and I'm also not sure how long Pablo is for Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
Did I get the one from Straight White Mage? Toxic femininity was all about how women don't mind the peekaboo window and on-screen tatas. Did I get that one?
I think you did get that one, but that's all right. It's more than worth reading again.
It deserves repeating.
It deserves repeating.
Yeah,
anytime you can repeat tatas.
I love
Andre
hearing
saying
tatas.
I like to hear the Norwegian version of tatas. Yeah,
exactly.
Well, Mr. Fix of Norwegian. What the hell is tatas and?
Well, you have to show me what is in English first. But...
Well, boobs, boobs, man, boobs.
Well, we'll deal with that in another stream altogether.
No.
No.
By the way, Tom, that was a great James Earl Jones, by the way.
Oh well, thank you. Yeah, I love doing that. I did all the dialogue in the outfit there on the set, and then I added the breathing and stuff to it. But I had a mic up inside, and it actually made that echo being up inside. So I was like, no, So it was a lot of fun doing like James Earl Jones. I loved it.
This is CNN.
Yes, this is CNN.
Anyway, sorry, Andre.
Yep. Yeah. And then we have Mr. Tickle Trunk, who says for $5 Canadian, where's the modern day films both men and women enjoyed, like The Money Pit or War of the Roses?
Great.
Men and women competing but complementing each other. Yeah, I you know what? I actually even hated that in the 80s when you had like that in cartoons. You had like the Battle of the Sexes episode and like everything where like the boys would like pick a fight and then they would lose horribly always. I didn't like it even then. And so
yes, I remember that trope. Yeah, it was always like, it's going to be the guys versus the girls doing this thing.
Exactly. And the guys would always lose.
Always lose.
and that kind of like sent a message in animation, which I guess was maybe fine enough, but it's a whole different world now.
Yeah.
Money Pit is actually a pretty good example of where they fixed the film from making Tom Hanks's character such an idiot and a bad man. I wouldn't say bad like bad guy, but he's just like like they have this whole intro sequence where he's like in debt because of his dad when that wasn't originally in the movie, I guess. Like the whole thing was he was just a deadbeat in the original story. So,
he's just a deadbeat.
Yeah, so the audience didn't like that. So they they added this whole like intro sequence where his dad is the reason he's in debt. So that's why there's that weird sequence where it's all voiceover and it's not really Tom Hanks and shit like that and Shelley Long in the scene. It's just voiceover and it's
right. So they go back and retcon it because they're like, okay, this guy, they're not liking him.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever seen that, Andre. But
I have not. I have not.
Oh well, the basic outline of the movie is they buy this house. They think they're getting a great deal, and it turns out that the place is just ready to fall apart. So,
Andre, the expression "a money pit" about a house. Are you familiar with that expression, "a money pit"?
Well, no, I've never heard it before. The second,
okay,
when you say it, I can kind of imagine.
Yeah, the money pit is throwing the good money after the bad, but also just this increasing pit of like one thing breaks, then the next. If you're a homeowner, you know exactly what I mean.
Oh, I know the feeling.
Yeah, you buy one thing, you replace your washing machine only to find that all your plumbing is broken.
I was just going to say,
I've done just that very recently.
Okay, then that's the money pit effect.
After your recent plumbing experience, Andre, I'm willing to bet you would actually get a kick out of Money Pit.
Yeah, that is the Money Pit. Literally, you're living it. Yeah.
You start with a clogged up drain, and it just escalates from there.
Yep,
exactly. That's what they've created.
Like a Three Stooges episode, basically, like the one where Curly's trying to fix the leak in the plumber.
I love it.
In the plumbing one, anyway.
One thing goes wrong, then the next thing goes wrong, then the next thing goes wrong. It's classic.
And then he ends up trapping himself in a bunch of pipes.
I love it. I love the Stooges.
Drills himself through the floor. I love it. Yeah.
I have to check that one out.
Yeah, it's worth it.
Money Pit's great.
And Kit Kat says, I want them brave and clever, but male muscles are indeed a pleasure for a lady to behold.
Well, why do you think Aquaman made
many
so much?
women are of that opinion?
Yeah, of course.
Aquaman was
nothing wrong with it. Absolutely.
That was actually a big reason why Jason Momoa was cast as Conan as well, because they noticed in the offices of Millennium Pictures that when Momoa walked into the office to his auditions, the lady swooned.
Yes.
Whereas when his competitors came in, they didn't.
Right, and having that appeal for women was important. It builds a bigger tent. Women can enjoy what's quote unquote a men's film, just how men can enjoy a woman's film. We need to stop drawing these lines around them. It's ridiculous. Hey, Muscle, there he is.
I say Paulie's here. Yeah, no, it's funny you mentioned that, Andre, because that's also why we have Johnny Depp. although I probably shouldn't say his name. We have Wes Craven's daughters to thank for that, because it was down to like 3 or 4 actors, I believe, including Charlie Sheen. And
really?
they kept going to Johnny Depp, and they're like, "Why Johnny? He's like, he has no color. He's white as a ghost, and he looks like a punk rocker." Like, yeah, but Daddy, he's so dreamy.
Yeah, he's got the it factor. He's so dreamy. Yeah. There you go. And a career was made.
Because he wasn't even supposed to, he showed up with a couple of other
his friends.
Yeah, it actually happened to be Jackie Earl Haley, believe it or not.
Exactly.
Oh wow, that's funny.
Who wound up playing Freddy 30 years later.
Freddy.
Yeah. And he found out, and then funnily enough, Robert Englund found out about the role through Mark Hamill, of all people.
Oh really?
Because he's like, Mark's like, yeah, they're looking for older people, but you'd be perfect for it. I think just go in and try it out. So Robert went in, and on his way in, he wore his leather jacket, greased his hair back real quick, went and grabbed some cigarette ash out of the ashtray there, because you could smoke anywhere then. And he just put it under his eyes to make him look bad. He just looked like a bad punk.
Hey, it worked. That's fantastic. That is fantastic. You never know when casting is going to work. When I was auditioning all the time, the ones that you would drive away from and you're like, I got that one, you wouldn't get, but others where it was just random and you go in, you're like, you booked it. You never know where it's going to come from.
Yeah. That's awesome. And Paulie, I think I sent you the link. If you're free, buddy, you can hop on in. But yeah, do we have a couple more super chats to get?
Yeah, we have a couple of more. Then Mr. Tickletrunk also said, in fact, it's a perfect time for a new War of the Rose. It's War of the Rose. This is like the War of the Roses against is that the conflict of the crown in England, or is this something else?
It's Konkle, you could probably explain it better.
Yeah, it's a play on that historical one, but in this case, they've updated it to a contemporary setting. The Roses are a family, and it is chronicling the ridiculously dark comedy of a couple breaking up but forced to still live together. And I believe it was Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner, I believe. Yes,
it was actually Robert Zemeckis reunion with those two and Danny DeVito. Actually.
And it ultimately it had an interesting message in that trying to destroy each other, you destroy yourself sometimes.
It's a hell of an ending.
Yeah, it is, and it's a really dark, interesting message that anybody that's getting in a vicious relationship or something, it really caught a lot of that flavor where it's what is it? It's like drinking poison, hoping the other person dies.
Yep. It's a hell of a movie. It's a hell of a
yeah.
But yeah, it is
very dark. Very dark.
Yeah. And then
I apologize. You're right. DeVito directed Roses, but it was their third film that those three made together, though, because they made the two the Jewel.
They did the Romancing
the Stone together.
Yep.
Yeah. For some reason, did Zemeckis produce it though? Because for some reason, I think his name's attached to it somehow. For some reason,
doubt it if he produced it. It's possible. Yeah.
But he did do Death Becomes Her. Maybe that's what I was mistaking the directing with. Yeah, Death Becomes Her he did direct, but yeah.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. And then Midnight Sun has a question for all of us and says for $6.99 Canadian, thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Can you rank your favorite cinematic Punishers for us? Cheers. All right, Mr. Konkle, what's your favorite from most favorite to least favorite? How would you rank the cinematic Punishers? And we said cinematic, but let's include John Bernthal as well, just for completion.
That's right. I think for me, I did like the 2004 Punisher, which I believe was Thomas Jane, wasn't it? And John Bernthal. I liked that one a lot. The first one, was that Dolph Lundgren?
Yes, that was Dolph Lundgren. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And I like that one as well. I would put those in probably the top two, and then the rest sort of. Wasn't there Punisher
Warzone with Ray Stevenson?
Yeah, and I didn't see that one. How was that?
It's actually pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's you're either going to think it's pretty good or you're going to hate it. because it's like
It's
it's tonally weird. Tonally
that I will
weird.
give you.
It has the worst villains ever put on film
really?
anywhere. And
Yeah, the Punisher
villains
stuff's good, though.
completely ruin it. So, but if you ignore the villains, which is difficult, you are left with a pretty good movie and a great Punisher.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I'll have to check that out because I haven't seen that one. But I think Jonathan Hensley, I think, directed the 2004
yes,
one.
he did, and he was. It kind of ended his career as a director.
I think it did. I think he's married to Galen Hurd, who used to be married.
Yes, that's how he got the job.
Yeah, I think so. But I think he wrote. Didn't he write Jumanji and Armageddon? I think.
Yeah, he was a writer first. Like he started
so,
as a lawyer. He also
yeah.
wrote Armageddon and many other things. He even wrote like the first draft of Die Hard 3. When it was simply
Die Hard
called,
with a Vengeance.
It was a Die Hard movie
called Simon Says.
Yes.
That was
Simon
also Jonathan
Says.
Hensley.
You're right. So yeah, I would say if we're ranking Punishers, you know, I don't like to rank something I haven't seen, so I would have to see
just
this
rank
other
the ones
one.
that you have. So I'm just leave that out of it.
Definitely would go with the 2004, and then the one from I think 1989 with Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah. Tom, how about you?
Not going by the film so much, but just the actor probably Bernthal for 3. 2 would probably be Thomas Jane, and then just Dolph Lundgren for some reason has always just been my favorite version to this point. He just seemed to have the look. The only thing,
he's an imposing guy.
Yeah, is the skull. But I mean that movie is still. I still feel like that movie is very overlooked. I loved it as a kid growing up. I mean, it was to me just I don't know. It felt more Punisher than even kind of more than the 2004 film, which I do enjoy. It's a very well done film. But I have not seen the Punisher series proper, though. That needs to be stated. I have seen him in the Daredevil stint, but not.
That's better.
His
absolute best stint was the one in Daredevil, whereas his own Punisher series went a little bit too on the political side. If you
I've heard, yeah.
So the highlight actually is in Daredevil. If you've seen that, you've seen the best of him.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah. And as for me, I would rank Ray Stevenson as the best, most comic book accurate Punisher. So I'd put him at number 1. Under doubt, I'll put the movie Punisher Warzone there too. But again, under doubt because it has the worst villains ever put on film. Seriously, every single time they are on screen, they make the movie nigh on unwatchable.
He's right. It's like they're from a completely different film.
Really? That's
it is.
I'd have to notch it down because of that.
The
so just totally
like,
uneven.
The villains are like out of a Ninja Turtle episode.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. It's a complete and total joke. It's like you just sit there and groan in the seat.
Wow. Was that movie the reason the rights went back to Marvel after that film?
No, there's 2 reasons. Yeah, well, here's like the thing. Before that movie was released, there was a change in management at Lionsgate, the distributor. It was the outgoing guy. He was the one who greenlit the movie in the first place, whereas the guy coming in, I've forgotten the name of both. Joe Drake, he was the one coming in. And Joe Drake decided, what's this stuff? I don't want to do any of this. So screw the Clive Barker stuff and screw this Punisher stuff. I want to do like this the Hunger Games. That was like his big thing.
Right.
So he was the one who greenlit the Hunger Games and the Punisher and Clive Barker's Films of Blood. Those were like the 2 big things of his predecessor. So he had to be killed right away. So the movie Punisher Warzone, that was a mess at any rate, but still Lionsgate dumped it completely. So it was completely, it was a surefire flop because it had zero backing from the studio, and they put it at the worst possible release window they could have. And then the movie had huge problems as well because of the villains. And then it flopped big time. And then, of course, then he was very happy to just let Marvel have it back again, because he wasn't doing that under any circumstance. So that's how they got it backing. So they didn't get it back because that movie flopped, but rather because it was decided from the CEO that this movie is to flop. So we're going to let it.
There's nothing worse than working on a film for that long and then having it coming out with no support. That happened to Solomon Kane, the film with James Purefoy, which is actually a very good film. And
extremely good film.
No one knew it came out. I mean, it just the tragedy of that. Now people are discovering, hey, this is great. You know, it's a bit like the Dread film where it's like, hey, that was really good. Can we do another? And it's like, do you realize that was put together 7 years ago? You know, and there's nothing worse than doing all of that and then have the ball dropped at the very end where literally you build it and no one comes because no one knows it's there. It's a tragedy.
I don't know if you heard, though, Tom, we broke some news about Solomon Kane here recently.
Oh, well, something happened. Is there a series or something?
Yes, exactly. That's the news that we dropped. They are internally developing a Solomon Kane series. It does not yet have distribution, but it is being aggressively developed.
Now, you see, I'll bet that's also on the back of this film being rediscovered and people going, hey, this was really good. Why did we miss this? And the original property is also really, has a great backing on it. So that's great news. Are they using James Purefoy again or no?
This is unknown. This is very, very early days still. Yeah. So it's too early to say anyone being involved at any rate. It's something that's being developed internally. That's all we know.
Yeah, that's definitely a guilty pleasure movie. I like watching that one a lot. It was a shame that they didn't support it, but I actually think there's some great sequences in that.
That was really also Lionsgate, bomb factory of the time.
Between Lionsgate and Miramax dumping things, there was a Jim Caviezel science fiction film. It was based on like the Beowulf myth.
Yeah,
I think it was called Outlander. Yeah, yes. I liked Outlander. I own it on Blu-ray, but I'll tell you, Andre, no one mentioned it. No one mentioned it.
I have it on Blu-ray too. It did pretty good here locally.
Yeah,
but again, the local distributor supported it, whereas again in the US, Lionsgate dumped it, like they did everything.
Yeah,
I discovered it years later. They tried to dump it, but they had like the worst marketing department in the business, bar none.
Yeah, and it really doesn't serve their interests. Like I have this fight with distributors all the time where if they take something I've done and I'm like, it is in your interest to tell people about it, to support it, because you will make money. If we make money, we get to do more stuff. The idea that you take something on, you're like, you know what, let's not tell anybody about it. That makes no sense. Even if it's a matter of, well, that was an old regime and we're the new guy. It's like, don't you at least want continuity of a successful thing? Do you really need something to fail to justify that now you've taken the job? Or can you just simply say, hey, that was a success. I shepherded the old ideas in. Now I'm the new guy. But sure enough, the minute someone else takes over a distribution, they have to throw everything else out to prove, oh, you were right. You were right to get rid of that guy because look, everything failed. You know, it's like, well, but that only hurts the people that made it.
Yeah, pretty much. But getting back to my Punisher ranking.
Yeah, sorry, I took a tangent there.
Yeah, the first one is to me is Ray Stevenson. He's the undisputed number one, and despite the horrendous villains, if you just close your eyes and like cover your ears whenever they are on screen, you're left with a pretty decent movie and a very good performance in Ray Stevenson. And this is the one and only movie that actually gets his origin right. So there is that. Second, I think I'm going to have to give to John Bernthal. Physically, he's wrong for the role, and the irony is that he gets to play the kind of Punisher that Tom Jane wanted to play, but was never able to. It seems like The creators of that series seem to have taken an inspiration from the 2004 movie and what Jonathan Hensleigh tried and failed to do, and done that instead of following the comics. But still, at least they were able to do that. Although going Travis Bickle is completely wrong for the Punisher, at least it was like a complete thing. So that's my number 2. Number 3, there I'm going to put the 2004 movie with Thomas Jane. He was very good. Again, he doesn't physically fit the character all that well, apart from the face. Face is fine. Body and build, a little bit too short. But again, yeah, just ignoring that. But then the whole movie, I mean, Jonathan Hensleigh, the writer and director, he dropped the ball so freaking badly. Because with that movie, he didn't understand the Punisher. He just wanted to do a love letter to the cinema of the 70s. And he did that very well, but I think that the Punisher movie was the way, way wrong venue for it. So, yeah, complete joke, because he messed up the origin story. Because the origin, instead of giving the Punisher his own origin, where he actually gets philosophical justification to do what he's doing, to declare war on crime, he instead just ripped off the origin story from Mad Max, shot by shot, more or less. And like, the hell are you thinking? Why do you make the Punisher into Mad Max? Because then it makes no sense for him to become the Punisher at all. And indeed, when he has killed everyone and he has like 2 logical outcomes, either like off himself, as he was considering, or go with the neighbor character, those were both 2 very, very plausible endings. Instead, he just randomly, out of the blue, decides to punish the killers and the rapists. There's nothing building up to it. Nothing at all. Other than that, oh yeah, by the way, we're doing a Punisher movie, so like, put that in the end there. It's a complete mess. But not as big a mess as the 1989 movie with Dolph Lundgren. I agree, him wasn't too bad, but the script for that movie, oh my God, it was awful. There you have a Punisher that sits naked in the sewer and chats with God, and who spends all his ammunition shooting up machines instead of shooting up villains. I mean, people say that movie is so violent. I disagree. I think we need to rewatch that movie. But if you like it, hey, more power to you. But I certainly don't. So to me, that's dead last. So that's my order of them. And moving on from there, Mr. Tickletrunk says, no, we got that one already. Then Dash D said for $5 Canadian, cross an Ewok with a Porg, drop it in a Sarlacc pit for 3K cycles, and it'll shit out a Predator. It's a Jim Henson creation method in space. And then moving on from there, let's see. Then we have says Jason Momoa, please. And Straight White Mage says, my mother took me to see Excalibur. Machismo, bloody battles, and on-screen tatas. Yeah, education right there.
I want somebody to take that where you go, Jason Momoa, please, and cut that with a shot of Jason Momoa taking his shirt off.
Don't give people ideas here.
I give people ideas. That's what I do.
Yeah. And then Torbjörn V. Borg sent us 30 Danish krona with no message attached, but thank you for the support in either event. And Burnt Virtue says for $5, is Tom Konkle an alias for Justin Long? They're vocal twins. Vocal
okay,
maybe,
you found me
visual
out.
Not so much. But
visual not so much.
He's been on camera quite a few times. So
yeah.
That's funny though.
Yeah, and Warwolf says, the thing with Hollywood is they like to hang on to any material they adapt like limpets. Look at Peter S. Beagle and The Last Unicorn, for example. No idea what that means, but I trust that you guys do.
The Last Unicorn is a movie. I know that. I don't know.
I'm never lost, but there you go.
Yeah. And Bratty Kid sent us a super sticker, so thanks for that. And with that, we are caught up
Awesome.
for the time being. So, Mr. Konkle,
Yes.
tell us more about the project that you're working on.
Yeah. So the next step, I'm working with a script doctor, and he and I are fleshing out the rest of the feature. I've already shot some of the fight scene stuff. Chris Connell is one of the stars of it. We're creating some other great parts. I hope to finish shooting it this year. It'll be out early next year, and it is an old school revenge meets, I would say, The Godfather and Arthurian legend. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And another thing that I think is important to say is I think this is a return to a different kind of filmmaking. It is very much the kind of film you would have seen in the 80s and 90s, where it is a simple story. It's very mythological, but the characters are complex. It has a lot of great action scenes. For me, it's something I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to do a Hong Kong style action film, and then sort of wrapping it around this story elevates it a little bit. So I can't be too exact with what's coming out because I don't want to ruin it. But I will say this, I will definitely premiere it here on your channel.
If you need a fat guy with nunchucks, I'm there.
You are so there.
Speaking of guys being here, we got to welcome Paulie. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, that was a good one, man. That was a good one. Hey, Tom, how are
Hey,
you?
how are you doing?
Good.
And Tom Konkle. Sorry about that.
Oh, yeah. And he's good too.
And
Hey.
Andre.
Yes,
Wait,
great
what's happening, boss?
Yeah, no, I'm good. How about yourself?
I was lifting weights, trying to find some muscles, getting ready for Aquaman 2 to call me.
Werewolf expands on the last unicorn thing. It was a book written by Peter S. Beagle. Yeah, I was gonna say, I think it was based on a book. And Hollywood hung on to the rights for decades, which was an issue for years. He only just got the rights back recently. Yeah, I remember hearing something to that effect, but I wasn't sure, so I didn't want to go off on it. But thank you for the clarification.
And I would have come on earlier. I just
We were picking crusty Mokos.
that too while lifting weights. But really, the Punisher is kind of like a blur for me. I just remember Thomas Jane screaming in Orlando, Florida, a highway. But I like Thomas Jane a lot. I loved him in Boogie Nights.
There you go.
Right, he was in a sci-fi series too, wasn't he, Paulie? What was the one where he was like a detective or something? Was it was a Netflix series or a Hulu series he played? I'd have to look it up. I remember he had like a fedora on or something.
He comes up in some random shit, man. He was in Breach, which was a couple months ago with Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis. Yeah, I know the people that made that. They shot it in North Carolina or something like that. Yeah, he's been in some weird stuff. Yeah.
Well, God bless your friends, but that movie, boy.
Yeah.
He had an affected Southern accent, I guess. He was like the leader who was like in cryo sleep, but then he woke up and he's in this brig, right, the whole time, and he has sunglasses on the whole time.
Oh, that's weird. Yeah.
It's such
take away the actor's tool, which is their eyes, right?
I mean, well, then Bruce Willis is this grizzly drunk janitor, but then you find out that he was like really like Mr.
So he's
Black
basically
Ops.
playing himself this whole time.
The Expanse. That's what I was thinking of. He played a guy. Joe Miller. That's who Thomas Jane.
Bruce.
Played. Yeah.
You got a new job as a janitor in a movie as a janitor. Yeah, in a movie.
Yeah, a movie.
I mean, if you want to just a head shaking good time, like you just can't believe it. Breach.
Haven't seen it. Yeah.
And then I'll do a spoiler. And
is that a movie to lose friends by, Paulie?
It is. It was. The aliens that, of course, there's always an alien that invades, space worms, you end up being able to kill the worms with the hooch that Bruce Willis was drinking this whole time.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh
Can't
dear.
just be my,
And yet I struggle to find money to do films. Yeah, that's crazy.
Right. I'm sure that your friends ended half the budget was to Mr. Willis.
Yeah. Well, they're not really my friends, but they're certainly
Okay.
people I went to look for money. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Well, they're great. You should give your money to Tom Konkle right
There
now.
you go.
Good. So he can make the red circle. So I can.
Yeah,
be the
there you
cat
go.
nunchucker.
There you go.
All right. Dash D sent us a super chat, Andre.
Yes, and he says, I look a lot like Jason Momoa. If he was a fat old white guy who got hit in the face too many times. So there's hope, right?
Always.
I have that same problem.
That's funny.
And then Stephen Otten came in with a $5 super chat.
And he says, I grant that it may not be the best movie of all time, but I have a soft spot for the 89 Punisher. It was my introduction to the character. And that's fair.
Great movie.
There were many people that were introduced to the character through that movie. As for
There's
myself,
a great special edition for it too from overseas.
Yes, I am a proud owner of the German special edition, which is freaking fantastic, with original director's commentary track, which was made for that release, and everything. So I have it as a completionist. I'm going to do a retrospective of it at some point here, but as a Punisher fan, I just don't enjoy it. But that's me. And also on that note, Mr. Poe says, did you see the Punisher short with Thomas Jane called Dirty Laundry? Yes, this is the follow-up that he did, like a fan film that he did. Not just with him, it also had Ron Perlman of Hellboy fame. He was also in Dirty Laundry.
Wow.
Did any of you gentlemen see Dirty Laundry?
Long time ago.
I have not, but with that cast, I would be very curious to see what they came up with.
It's on YouTube, ain't it?
Yeah, it used to be. I'm sure it still must be somewhere out there.
I would think.
Is that the
What did you think of it?
Oh, sorry.
Well, let's hear what Paulie has to say first.
Was going to be a bad joke. Go on.
Okay, I didn't like it. I didn't care for it. Because it only went to show me that Thomas Jane really does not get the character. And the reason the 2004 movie never got a direct sequel, allegedly, was very much so because of Thomas Jane. Allegedly. Those are the rumors. Because there you had competing creative visions of exactly what to do with the character. And one of the problems here, there was many problems, many problems, many had competing visions, but one of the problems apparently was Tom Jane himself, because he wanted to reshape the character into a more Travis Bickle-like character, which again is why I say that ironically, he got his wish with the John Bernthal series. The kind of Punisher that John Bernthal was, that's probably the kind of Punisher that Thomas Jane wanted to be. My issue with Dirty Laundry is that it's a short in which he goes to wash his Skull t-shirt, and on the way, when he's like in the laundry, he speaks with a paralyzed vet that runs a liquor store, and outside you have like this pimp who is beating up his employees, like the ladies of the night, and he witnesses this, and then he decides he's not having any of it, so he goes and he beats up this pimp, and he breaks his arms and he breaks his legs and he douses him in drink, and then he leaves a burning lighter there for the beaten up prostitute to finish him off. To me, that was absolutely horrible. I could not stand that. I mean, the Punisher, he doesn't do that. He doesn't make other people judges. He'd never put a random person, certainly not a victim, in the position where you're angry right now. You should totally kill this person so that you will be a murderer and you can be scarred for the rest of your life. Maybe it'll haunt you forever. Thomas Jane wanted to do that. His Punisher did that. That's not the actions of the Punisher. He'll do what he needs doing, but he doesn't want anyone else doing it. He's never going to leave a victim to take revenge that way. He's the exception from the rule. The Punisher is the one who gets to punish and no one else. And Thomas Jane went completely against that in Dirty Laundry. So, not a fan.
Well, it didn't succeed because John Travolta wasn't the Punisher. That's the truth. I'm kidding, of course. Like,
That's a heavy sigh.
oh my God, like, I'm going to kill this guy. He really pissed me off.
The problem, though, is that you are not completely wrong. I honestly
If a
think
young
that
John Travolta could have pulled it off.
would have been a better Punisher than Thomas Jane was.
Like John Travolta circa like 1990, maybe.
Yeah.
I wanted him in the Godfather 3.
John Travolta?
Yeah.
And
Like-
Hyperguyver, too, also points out that Tom Jane played the Punisher 3 times. His second outing was in the game on the PS2, and the one-liners were gold. Yes, absolutely. He was in that game, too. And you know what? That actually bothered me. Because there you had the Garth Ennis Punisher from the comics. And in the trailers, you had like another guy who sounded more like you would imagine that character to look like. And then you suddenly had Tom Jane's voice come out of that Punisher's mouth. To me, that was just jarring. Otherwise, cool game, though.
And who the hell would... Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Andre.
I was about to say, like, I actually do have that game, even if it's on the PlayStation 2. I also have the Punisher for Sega Mega Drive. That one is better.
Why am I not surprised when it comes to that? Stephen Otten says, Tom, I like the red circle already. Same here. It's time for an 80s action movie to make a comeback. Indeed. You know what 80s action movies have in spades, though? Great fucking soundtracks, right?
Oh, yeah. Music's super important.
So, just so you know.
Yeah.
Earthquake and booty shaking. Let's get this fucker started. High class, big brass. In case you need something, just let me know.
I also love the way you like sharp cut out of it. That was
Yeah, I'm not gonna play the whole thing right now.
Listen, I play that almost on every show of mine.
Yeah, I see that. I hear.
Holly, weren't you working out to that? You were working out to that song.
I'm sure.
Oh hell, what a great idea! That and 8 Mile,
There
Eminem.
you go.
Hell yeah!
You better lose yourself in the
Little Eye of the Tiger.
I would love somebody to video themselves working out to that music. We
Shit.
need that to be sent in.
Oh, don't tempt me, Tom.
Do it. I have a cut of it of Baron Zemo dancing to it already. But and I got to say this name for Andre. We have a $10 Canadian super chat from Rod Thunderheart. You can't say his name any different than that.
Yeah, no, I agree. Go for
Hail
it.
Rod. He's a cool dude.
And he says, "Hail Andre, hail Tom C, and hail Tom K. I didn't mind Dolph Lundgren Punisher for its action scenes. However, the lack of skull on shirt, coupled with making it plain man against mob, just blows." Yeah, you know what the thing with that was? That at the time they had all rights. You have like this urban legend that they didn't have the rights to put the skull. That's complete and total BS. They had all the rights they wanted, and they could have put the skull if they wanted to. They didn't want to do that because at this point in time, the most recent comic book movie was Howard the Duck. That was the most recent one. That was the most recent Marvel comic book movie. You also had Batman, but they didn't want to be compared with a comic book movie. So they tried to create as much distance from the comic as possible. That's the reason why he doesn't wear the
I think it was
wear the
made and
skull
all
there.
that stuff before Batman had come out yet, so they had no
Yeah,
idea.
it was at the same time. So it was Howard the Duck was the
And
closest
actually, I got to
comparison.
correct you. The last superhero movie to come out for Marvel was Howard the Duck, but the last one to come out was a huge flop, and that was Superman 4.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it only goes to show that at that time they didn't want to be associated with the stink of being a comic book movie, so they tried to create as much distance as possible.
Yeah,
And
which was
also-
preceded, of course, by Howard the Duck and Supergirl. But yes,
Yeah, and also while we're talking, you can say the name here again, Tom.
Rod Thunderheart.
Yeah. And he continues, I know people hated the 2004 Punisher, but I thought it was the perfect origin. He didn't just kill, he punished. And it made sense, his entire family slaughtered. At least Jonathan Hensley got that right. I must respectfully disagree with you. His entire family, well, if your wife and kids are included, then honestly the rest doesn't really matter that much. The problem is the way that it happened. Jonathan Hensley made it so that he actually made that happen himself. It wasn't a random thing. He was targeted by the mob because he was a G-man. He was a feds, and he was in a failed sting, one that was botched completely, in which then the son of John Travolta died, so that John Travolta went deliberately after him for revenge for killing his son. And he killed his entire family, and that's horrible, but yeah, that's what happened. And yes, it did give the Frank Castle of that movie the perfect excuse and opportunity to punish John Travolta, which indeed happened. Problem is that
John
once
Travolta
that
punished
is done,
us for this performance. Sorry.
that's true. But problem is that once he had done that, once he had avenged his family, there's no more. He has no reason to do anything else. Okay, now he has gotten revenge on the one individual who targeted him personally, who made it personal and went after him. Now that score is settled. Where's his justification for becoming the Punisher? Crime didn't kill his family. He has no reason to go to war on crime, to suddenly take the leap that, oh, now I'm going to go to war on all criminals. There's no leap for that. There's no justification. It's basically just death wish. It's just taking revenge. He called it to punish, but really it was just revenge. He took revenge. Now revenge is done. And you saw that towards the end there. He was sitting on the bed and he could choose between offing himself or he could go with his neighbor Joan. Those were the two natural setups. And then instead you had the tacked on thing, completely tacked on, of like, oh, where he's on the bridge with the skull shot, that now I'm going to punish the criminals and the rapists and the killers. But why? They never did anything to you. You have no justification. That's what Hensley got wrong. He fundamentally misunderstood the character. Yeah, there you go.
Now you've beaten Rod into submission.
Yeah. Oh, I just love the Punisher. And
looking at Rob, that looks like it'd be a tough
pet peeve.
And looking at Rob there in that picture, that'd be a tough thing to do. So
yeah,
it's tough when someone fundamentally doesn't understand it, whether it's the person playing it or creating it. It's working against the purpose of it. It makes you wonder what drew you to this project. Was there just a fundamental misunderstanding?
Exactly. And the problem with that movie is that you had three people that did not get the Punisher. One was Avi Arad, who was the producer. He did not get the Punisher, or what made him work, or why he did what he does. So he couldn't course correct in any way, shape, or form. Then you had Jonathan Hensley, who took a look at the comics. He took some references from it, but he didn't understand them. He just wanted to make a tribute to the cinema of the 70s and force that into a Punisher mold without understanding the Punisher. And then finally, there was Tom Jane, who just wanted to do Travis Bickle. So then you have the three influential people, and not a single one of them gets the character.
K-Mation asks, don't know much about the Punisher, so are you saying he never got revenge for his family's death in the comics?
No, I'm not saying that. He did get revenge on the people that killed his family. But here's like the thing. It wasn't personal. That's the key to understanding the Punisher. In the comics, what gives him his philosophical justification is that he wasn't targeted. There was nothing personal about it. He was just one day out in Central Park with his family, flying kite and being on a picnic, when all of the sudden there's a gangland execution that they stumble onto. You have two warring mobster families that have a shootout in the middle of the park, and they just happen to be in the crossfire. It is just that chaos of the moment, which is the key here. It's not exactly, he was a bystander.
Yeah, and
It
isn't that
wasn't
the way it
personal.
is in the isn't that the way it is in the Lundgren one too, though?
Nope. He was targeted.
Remember.
He's targeted. He's
Okay,
a
I
policeman
couldn't
and he's
remember. Oh,
targeted.
that's right. Yeah,
It's the
yeah. I
same
couldn't
problem.
remember. Yeah.
But the Ray Stevenson one gets it right. And just to continue that conversation, or just to finish that point, since now I started like grinding on it, so I have to continue. The whole thing to understand this is that he was just a random bystander. If it wasn't him, it would have been someone else. If it wasn't his wife and his kids, it would have been someone else's wife and someone else's kids. If it wasn't the individual shooter who pulled the trigger, if he was sick that day, someone else would have pulled the trigger, because crime was the ultimate culprit there. You had one mobster family going against another mobster family in their own internal settlements. And the individual family and the individual shooter didn't really matter, because if it wasn't them, it would have been someone else. And if it wasn't the Castles, it could have been someone else.
Yeah, it's a lot
Crime
like how
is what did it.
it's a lot like how making Batman not being able to avenge his parents' death being important too.
Exactly. So he was able to take revenge on the people that did kill.
But it's
his
just the
family.
randomness, right?
But
I get
still,
it.
it's the randomness. It's the randomness. Since it wasn't anything personal against him, it wasn't anything personal, well, that gives him justification too. My family died because of random crime. So you know what? I'm going to declare war on random crime. Why should any of you get away any easier? You're a criminal. You choose to engage in this activity. Well, you know what? Randomly, punishment may come your way. That is the justification. That is the key to understanding the character. And neither the makers of the 1989 movie or the 2004 movie understood that. And for that reason, those movies were fundamentally botched. The Netflix series got it partially right, but only partially, because again there, he was targeted. So they didn't fully get it there either. The only one that actually got it was Punisher Warzone. So yeah, and now
All right.
rant is over.
All right. Well, I wanted to ask Tom some stuff about the Warner deal and the Amazon deal, but do we have any more super chats to catch up on real quick? Or?
Yeah, we have a couple, but I don't think we have Mr. Konkle for too much longer, so we can deal with those after.
Sure. Yeah, you have me for another 5 or 10, and then I have to jump into a meeting.
Yeah. Well, let's hear from those other 5 or 10. So Tom, as in Connors, you had a question. Could you repeat that question, Tom?
He is muted.
You are still muted, Tom. Well, maybe he had to deal with something.
We were talking about, just before we started, talking about the big mergers and some of the seismic changes going on with some of the studios, certainly. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
I'm not surprised about the AT&T deal where they're spinning off, Warner Media. I was a little surprised that it was Discovery of all things that was kind of stepping in and taking the reins. There will be a new person in charge of business there. I think his name is David Zaslav.
Zaslav.
Yeah, and so Discovery now will have a much bigger voice in it. I think that comes at a time when a tech company like AT&T is realizing, wow, it's difficult to run a to run a studio, and it's hard to have relationships with artists. I don't know how much outreach AT&T really did to try and get directors, producers, and people that are developing shows and movies to feel like they're heard. They tried to run it like, you know, like you would like corporate America, and it doesn't work that way. It's based on personalities and it's based on relationships, and I don't know that there was that outreach. So this change is gonna change a lot of things with how things get made, not necessarily for the worse, might possibly for the better, but it's another indication that the end user, the distribution of the tech driving the content is not necessarily the best thing. You know, AT&T has jumped in on a couple of purchases and lost their shirt on a couple things that they've bought previously, and this whole kind of new move between Warner Media and Discovery is going to generate a lot of different projects and a lot of new opportunities. Hopefully there'll be more like a culture that's friendly to great stories and content, and not necessarily run like a communications company or a tech company.
Because that's kind of what I boiled it down to too, and I thought at least my observation of it was probably most likely the case is Killar did not understand the industry.
Yeah.
And when they decided to do the whole day and date thing on HBO Max, and probably the way that he dealt with some of the talent and filmmakers and stuff like that rubbed people the wrong way. And when they lost people like Christopher Nolan and stuff like that, and from what I heard, like Legendary fucking lost it when Godzilla versus Kong made as much as it did, and they're like, do you realize how much money we left on the table here? Well, I was just gonna say, and I had heard that, you know, next year they were going back to the theatrical first thing, but then like Andre and I were saying in the background, we're like, there's no fucking way Dune comes out on day and date in HBO Max. Just not gonna happen.
No, not gonna happen. And I get the feeling. Don't you get the feeling that like all the AT&T guys are sitting going, "Who's this Nolan guy that keeps giving us trouble, wanting to have these meetings and talk about strategy? We're gonna tell him what we're doing, because you know when we set up a fiber optic network, we didn't ask the people who own phones. You know, I have a feeling that the whole thing was sort of like, God, these people need to talk to us and stuff. All the decisions are coming from the top down here, and as soon as artists start you know, we're leaving and started going, guys, I don't want to do it that way, or I didn't make this movie to have it be on HBO Max. Shouldn't you have asked me? You know, I think it's a dismal failure for the, you know, a telecommunications company to have to spin off, was it three years after they got entertainment assets, they're spinning them off with Discovery. And I think that's an embarrassment right there. It means you just didn't know what you had.
It was actually less than that, really, because after all the stuff they had to go through to get it to go through, I think they only had control for only like a year, wasn't it, Andre?
Yeah, it was something along those lines, something like that. It was a limited period, but I don't recall exactly the period.
I thought it was 2018, but I might be wrong.
Well, I know they had to go through a bunch of the regulatory crap.
Yeah, and there was regulation, but
it was like a year and a half, 2 years almost. I mean, that was a big struggle to get that thing through.
Yeah, but I'll tell you now, the spin-off Warner Media Discovery, that's going to be bigger than Netflix or NBC Universal as a company. So I think it will definitely have deep pockets, and they're going to be spending some money on content. You know, they're going to spend billions of dollars on it. Hopefully, you know, it becomes an artist-friendly place again, that you can go back with ideas. You know, Warner's is right around the corner from where I am, and I've worked there, done shows there, and it would be great to be able to go back and feel like they had your back. You know, that it wasn't just a tech company that happened to have content.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's kind of what it became a little bit. It really was.
It really did. It made, and the deal was not good optics for AT&T. The deal makes them kind of look like it was a bad decision. And the problem is they destroyed what I like to think of as like the DNA of the company. You know, it's called Warner Brothers because it was named after The Warner Brothers. It was the personality of the people that made movies, and they decided, we're going to make a certain kind of movie, and we're going to do this. And you can't just acquire it and then go, I want I'm going to manage this thing. These are my strategies. And if people don't like it, so what? And then all of a sudden, when people started leaving and they started losing it, they went, oh, wait, this company is defined by their content. We're defined by the relationships that we have with this. So spinning it off at this point, that's an embarrassment right there.
It is, but I think they're making the right choice here, because I pointed out a while back that this Zaslav guy who's been running Discovery now for a while, he knows what he's doing, it seems like.
Yep.
And one thing I noticed about the Discovery app was everybody I talked to was normies who were talking about it, and they kept saying have to have it, have to have it, have to have it.
Mm-hmm.
So like, to me, that's exactly what Warner needs right now with HBO Max.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be the best move for them. They're going to be interjecting this, this guy who knows what fans want. It does kind of open the door a little bit wider for any Snyderverse to continue, what little chance there was.
You just have to clarify one little thing there, because
Sure.
let's be clear about one thing. We don't know
No,
that
we don't.
Laszlo knows what fans want. In fact, I would take a bet that he doesn't know what fans want. However, by all accounts, he is someone that can read numbers. And the fans that have voted with their wallets, he will be able to read that.
Well,
and
he's
that's
receptive.
something that Ansarnov and Walter Hamada stubbornly refused to do. So that's
Right.
something that's going to make him more friendly by default, but not because he cares about the fans. He cares about the numbers.
Well,
Which again is good and well, because there's no disagreement there.
fair enough. Yeah, that's a good point to put, because like I don't know if you know anything about this guy Tom, but he's the guy that all the Discovery networks, as soon as they like start losing any interest in the channel, he'll completely revamp the channel.
Yes, I know some showrunners with Discovery shows that they've done on there, and yeah, he's no problem with scrubbing it.
Cutthroat as hell, which is exactly what I think they need right now over there, because, and that's where I feel like, you're right, Andre, where he'll look at it number wise, where he's like, why are you guys ignoring this group of people over here? They clearly want to give you their fucking money.
That's right.
but again, I don't think he's even going to be like, why are you ignoring these people? I don't think that enters the equation at all. I think it's a simple matter of, look at these numbers. This was a huge hit. There's loads of demand for this. Why aren't you doing more of that? Oh, because this and no, that's complete bullcrap. Your reasons make no sense.
That's
doing more of this. Yeah. And again, he's not even going to consider, I think, exactly who the people are beyond, okay, it appears to be like this approximate demographic, and that's a demographic that has money, is obviously willing to pay for things, so let's cater to that demographic. And beyond that, fans is not going to enter his vocabulary any more than that, I think.
No, you're right. I mean, he is a numbers guy, but that's my point, is he's cutthroat enough to see it. And if Hamada and Sarnoff are really out the door, as we heard from Mikey Sutton, then that really kind of sets the table for it. And I don't think the Snyderverse is something that's very high on his list of things to worry about. I really don't, because
he has far bigger
fish to fry. And first things first, well, it will come down in the list, but because first things first is going to be getting talent back on board, because I guarantee you there's a lot of people that were
getting Nolan back on board,
getting Nolan back,
that's
and then
going to be a big one.
A lot of people, a lot of producers. Like Jason Kilar basically angered Hollywood royalty in general. He blew up the movie business. He was firing everybody, but he had no connections with the people that create for them. So they're going to have to do some retcon and bring people back.
Exactly. I mean, and that's first and foremost, and then they got to reevaluate what they're doing as far as their output. They need to get stuff on HBO Max. I mean, I know they're finally getting things rolling on their Game of Thrones spinoffs, but they have no new, and that's why they did this whole day and date thing on HBO Max, because I said way back when, they have nothing to promote it with. They don't have, a ton of shows or anything that are exclusive to HBO Max that people are must-watch shows. A lot of this stuff is still half a year to a year out. And is there anything yet on there besides the Snyder Cut?
I was trying to think, is there a show right now that's good to watch on
there
HBO
might be
Max? It's a new show?
I don't know about new shows. I mean, they have like a few things that they did bring that were new when they brought it out, but nothing that I think really that captured the attention of everybody. And even things that they could have used, I don't understand why the fuck they did this. But like that Animaniacs reboot and things like that would have brought people, brought attention to HBO Max. They went and gave that to Hulu.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that deal was probably made way before the HBO Max thing was a thing, but I mean, that was the whole reason they brought in, this guy here from Discovery. And I think that's the main reason, is because he made Discovery a huge have to have app, because it goes along with all their shows. And Paulie, I don't know if he's back yet, but and he says exactly what I heard from a lot of people. It's, they got the 90 Day Fiance thing, or they got this thing or that thing that it's, goes along with my show, and I can't see it without the app. So he makes it must have. So that's what I think he's going to bring to the table with HBO Max. And that is, he's going to say, you've got all these fucking properties, all these wonderful IPs that are not being tapped into right now. That's the beauty of Warner Brothers. They don't have to go get anything. They have so much shit. They're the only ones out there that rival Disney in the amount of IPs they have.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. And between that and Amazon buying MGM, there's a huge shift.
Thing,
yeah, huge shifts going on this year.
And I wanted to grab your thoughts on that too, but I know I think you're almost out of time here. But
yeah, unfortunately, I've been having a great time talking to you guys. I have to jump off to actually write on Zoom. But my thought on Amazon talking to MGM, that library is deep. I know those things that Turner hasn't bought and colorized or done whatever with their extensive library, though. It has one of the deepest libraries of film and TV content. They have everything from we were talking about Rocky and RoboCop and Pink Panther and James Bond. All that stuff's there. That's a big move by Amazon. One of the reasons some of the indie films I think have been disappearing from Prime is I think they're making room for some of the more studio stuff. They're probably going to open they also own IMDb TV, which has AVOD, which is just advertiser-based video on demand, but you can pick what you want, but it has commercials. I think that's all part of a seismic change where Amazon, they're basically building an empire by spending money on shows and movies and all their stuff, but also just acquiring all these holdings. If they get MGM, they are big players in the entertainment business. They're going to own a lot of great stuff, but also they're going to have huge pockets of stuff that they can deep dive into, getting some talent, getting some people on there, and starting to really create a lot of content. I think Amazon has announced they are going to be major players.
Well, and I pointed this out too. It basically makes them, or puts them on the theatrical stage now. They are a distributor if they acquire. And I say we basically got to look at it. Then it's like Columbia, but we call it Sony because that's what it is. So you basically, it's MGM, but it's actually Amazon. Yeah, and that's the thing, is it gives them now the outlet and puts them on the
absolutely.
There's playing field.
There's over 200 million Prime members, that are streaming Prime Video. So that is worldwide. That's huge. So you're right. It's them putting themselves on the stage and going, okay, we got an even deeper library, deeper bench that we can dip into. So with AT&T getting out of the Warner Brothers and Amazon getting into MGM and doing it, you're seeing very different people that are deciding what we see.
Indeed. And we want to thank you so much, Tom, for your time. Do check out his film, Trouble Is My Business.
Yes,
by the way,
the link to that is in the description. And and Mr. Konkle, you were saying.
I was going to just mention, I totally forgot. I am releasing with another distributor is doing a very special noir edition, a black and white Blu-ray release of Trouble Is My Business in the next month or so. Look for that. It's got new pictures, new cover, new art design. Certainly I'll come back and let you know when that comes out. I'll let you know as things develop with this new action film. And I really enjoyed being on here today. And thank you to everybody out there in the audience as well.
Yeah, it's been a long overdue reunion, and we're glad to have you back. And hopefully we'll have you back again real soon. And I'll be checking in with you on that Blu-ray real soon, probably later.
Absolutely.
Today, tomorrow.
Thank you, Tom, and thank you, Andre. I'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Paulie, I'll say, good day as well.
Absolutely. Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Take care. And
With
with
that-
that, we have a couple of more super chats to go through. One I can bring up on screen is from Kaiju King Gabriel, who sent us $10. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. And he says, "Hail Midnight's Edge. Big fan of yours. Stumble on your group this year with Mr. H. What do you think of the rumors that Robert Downey Jr. trying to help Pirate Guy get a role in his Sherlock movie?" And I say the name Pirate Guy because saying the real name of Pirate Guy is bad news. I mean, several people have gotten their channel under severe attack from not from random people but from YouTube for mentioning the name of Pirate Guy in conjunction with, you know, Aqua Lady, she who poops into the bed of Pirate Guy. I haven't heard those rumors. Have you heard these rumors, Tom?
No, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's true. I still think it was a bad move for WB to replace him in that Harry Potter business.
Horrendous move.
And it's going to look bad for Disney when they have to basically bring him back into the pirate thing because it's not going to work.
Well, I would be delighted for them to find that out the hard way.
Me too.
That's a plot that I would be sitting and eating popcorn gleefully, watching that thing tank. Charlie's Angels and Terminator Salvation and Birds of Prey style.
Absolutely.
But yeah, no, he was done really dirty there. If it's accurate that Robert Downey Jr. is trying to help him, then fantastic. Really approve of that, and I hope it works. I hope he has enough sway with studio to make that happen. And then Paulus Plain, my favorite Norwegian, says, "Midnight's Edge, you all. I had to leave to take up." Well, okay, well. Awesome. Well,
there is a pause
expressing
button.
Your feelings. Yeah. There's a smiley in there.
Yeah, I think he's pissed because he couldn't miss the show is what he's trying to say. There is a pause button, so you can utilize that.
Yeah, but then you're not fully live anymore and come back. You have to
I understand that. And then what you can do, here's a trick. What you can do is then change the speed, like switch it up to like 1.5, which will make Andre sound normal anyway. And then,
just a little bit high pitched.
Yeah. Well, no, it actually doesn't change the pitch at all. Just change the speed. So then it just starts. It's like when just starts.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
So then you can catch up eventually. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, very, very cool. So yeah, that's a nice feature. Yeah, I've often been told that I sound better, like a few percent sped up. So yeah.
I could tell everybody a secret, but I'm not gonna.
Yeah, and then we.
I think you already told it, so don't matter.
Yeah, well, never mind that.
Yeah.
And then let's see what we have. Straight White Mage says Godzilla versus Mecha Koalas. Easy billions. So yeah,
that's koalas give them mecha gonorrhea though.
Yeah, that's an idea right there. And with that, I'm just going to do a quick check here. But I think
we may have missed one or two, but double check. Yeah,
you think? Yeah, I don't think we missed one or two.
We may not
do a double check. Yeah, I think we got them all. Pretty sure we did. And then after that, it was Rod Thunderheart expressing his love for the 2004 movie, which is fine. And let's see. No, I'm pretty sure. No, that should be all. It should be all. If anyone thinks we have forgotten a super chat, let us know. But I do believe that we have everything. Before we go, though, I have to do a tiny little plug. There is another YouTube channel and a podcast that's called The Realm Kast. They're specialized in all things Mortal Kombat. And while we were live, they actually dropped a video. It's an interview with, of all people, me. So go and check that out. I put the link right here on the screen, so feel free to click that. The link is also in the description. and in the community section of the channel. So they reached out because they wanted to go through this whole AT&T and Discovery thing and what exactly that might mean for NetherRealm Studios and the future of the Mortal Kombat franchise, both on film and in games. So do check that out. And also back with us is Paulie.
Yes, that's fantastic. I can't wait to see that interview.
So yeah, it was great fun. So go check it out and say that Midnight Edge sent you.
Absolutely.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
And Paulie, do you have anything coming up that you want to plug?
Well, tonight we're doing Karaoke Geeks on Latino Slant, my channel. Good news, good vibes, and I will take musical requests. There you go. And then on Midnight's Edge Espanol, we have some great new content up that's been up, including a tribute to Kentaro, the creator of Berserk. The boys did a great tribute yesterday in Spanish, and so we put that up. And we will get that Romy Diaz interview up as well. Midnight's Edge Espanol.
Yes,
Awesome.
looking
Cannot
forward
wait.
to it. And also, everyone, please go support Midnight's Edge Espanol. It's not easy to start a channel from scratch, and it needs to get to 1,000 to get like the traction where it starts being discovered by notifications and recommendations and stuff like that. So if you speak Spanish or you are just curious about learning it, go check out Midnight's Edge Espanol.
Yeah, that's the great thing about it. And I know Paulie's heard this before, but I don't know if Andre has. I don't know if you've gotten the same kind of messages, but I have gotten a few where people are saying, yeah, it's helping me learn Spanish because, you guys converse in both Spanish and English on the channel. So that's really cool. So it's not just learning words. It's actually learning, how to actually speak the language. So I guess I got to go start listening so I can learn.
yeah. You're not totally lost if you don't know a lick of Spanish.
Well, I'll pop in, and if I hear him speaking English, I'll yell at him.
Yeah.
And then we just had one more super chat from my fellow favorite Norwegian, Paradise Plain, who says YouTube Midnight's Edge is live. Grrr. Yeah, well, that's how we roll every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So do make sure to make it part of your calendar. Don't trust the notifications because they're not always forthcoming. And also check out Midnight's Edge Espanol and my interview with the Realm Kast. And what else is happening? Oh, we just got another super chat from Dash D's who says, "Damn it, Tom! I just noticed you did a meat radio last night during the only 4 hours I sleep. You big meanie pants."
Well, hopefully you can replay it as long as YouTube will let you. So,
I did fall asleep to it.
Did you hear the song I played for you, Paulie?
Oh, which one?
La 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 bamba.
I didn't. I was toast. Yeah.
All right, we got that one. All right. And with that, I think we actually managed to pull off a show that was under 3.5 hours for once.
Yeah, that's not bad. Not bad at all.
Always a plus. So I want to thank everybody out there in the chat for listening. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have a show. I want to thank Paulie for hopping in here. And, of course, Tom Konkle for being our illustrious guest today. And, Andre, thank you for having me as always. And with that, it's time for you know what? Koalas in the rain.
Koalas in the rain. Koalas in the rain. No fucks given.